Well, gaming news today is all about, well, AI, I guess. Like, that's everything that everybody is talking about. You may have missed it, but seeing Expedition 33 disqualified from the Indie Game Awards prompted a video from me talking about it. If you haven't checked out that video, be sure to watch it. Not very long. It's about 10 minutes, and I essentially break down what happened, kind of what the reaction has been, and I ultimately conclude at the end my thoughts on why this is going to be a very difficult position for people to maintain going forward, given this level of what I labeled current thing activism and people sort of jumping on this idea that if anybody uses anything like this, you know, they should be disqualified. As we saw Expedition 33 disqualified, that's not the first time something like this has come up. Larian Studios has come under fire for their use of AI in seemingly very minimal ways. Ultimately, the debate now, it's seemingly moving. Instead of talking about like, oh, if AI is in the game, if I can tell that your game has like slop pictures like we saw in Call of Duty with those calling cards, now even if Larian Studios admits to like, well, our concept artists might use it to explore something, or in the case of Expedition 33, it was placeholder textures that were like removed later, and even some companies saying they might use it to put together like a PowerPoint, because that's not really what they're focusing on. That's not developing a game, that's a PowerPoint presentation. Apparently, we're shifting away from, if it's in the game, I'm mad, or I don't like it, or I don't want to see it. We're shifting to, you shouldn't use it at all. Now, this is not the first time this came up this year. It also came up with Arc Raiders when we learned that they had used it with voices, and that was criticized by Eurogamer, but then it come to find out that like it was something that the artists had agreed to. No one lost their jobs. It was something they did to speed the process up. And I even said live service games are a ripe environment for AI because they can make updates to the game very quickly. They don't need to go into the studio and get the actors to come in and do any editing. They can just like change dialogue in the game around dynamic events and things going on. Not to be outdone here, Battlefield 6 now under criticism as well for using AI. I believe they also said, allegedly, this is at least what I saw reported, they said they hadn't used it or wouldn't be putting anything in their game with AI, and seemingly they got caught. There's like a piece of artwork where the gun has two barrels. It's sort of the cliche AI mistake. But there are other things going on in gaming news today as well. The reason for Xbox 2025 Wrapped not happening was due to, like, I guess, budget realignments, which isn't sitting very well with people. I didn't really cover that. That's obviously kind of a bummer. I wasn't going to have much of an Xbox 2025 Wrapped because my Xbox is only turned on by my daughter to play Fortnite, so that's all it would have been. But we also are now getting reports that Microsoft is debunking or pushing back on the notion that they said that their Xbox studios need to have like a 30% margin. But apparently we can't get like a direct quote. Even Tom Warren from The Verge kind of pointed that out. He's like, we're not really getting a direct quote here. It's like a paraphrase and nobody's speaking to it directly. We're not really sure what was said. But allegedly, according to a CNBC report, Microsoft is saying that's not true. We didn't demand that of our studio. So there's a lot to look at and a lot to discuss this morning. I'm sure we're going to get into a heated debate about the AI thing, which is probably what we'll start with. If you're looking for timestamps, those should be below. If they're not there, hit me up in the comments and remind me to do those. Sometimes I forget, but we're no longer doing like everything right at the front of the show. I try to use those timestamps so you can find those segments later, whenever you're watching this as a VOD. And thank you to everybody who has kind of rallied around us kind of bringing the channel home. We're no longer doing the multi-stream thing. We are only streaming the public show on YouTube, and we appreciate you guys getting behind what we do here and supporting it. And It's Chill Will is going to add to a much larger goal in the spirit of the holidays. People are taking time off, and I was not going to come back on the 26th and do any content or streams, but I will do what we're dubbing an After Frickmas party on the 26th, the night of December 26th, if we can hit a really huge goal this week. If not, I'll be taking that day off, which is what I was already kind of planning on doing. But I know sometimes people want to hang out. Some people don't have anywhere to go. They don't have any family or friends to spend time with. So it's like, hey, we'll do something like that if you guys want. But we're going to need to go a little crazy. Also, starting in the new year, you see this Member Plus number next to me. That is going to jumpstart the week. We're going to basically make it to where the more Member Plus we have, the easier it will be to hit the goal, because that's a thing that we would really like to see, and that as a way for you guys to contribute to what we do here. And a 5-bomb comes in from Jack Garland to get us started. He says, listen, boys, we can do it. Microsoft paid to host an Xbox Bowl game and have a guy dress up as Master Chief to give out trophies. Yeah, I saw that. That one actually looked kind of, I don't know. I didn't see anything other than Master Chief. The actual costume looked really cool in my opinion. It was like, hey, that was a really good looking Master Chief. But yeah, apparently if you're looking to get an Xbox 2025 like wrapped, they won't be doing that this year. Unfortunately, and I know that probably stings for those that were sort of loyal to the console, the duration of this year, in spite of a lot of things changing. I think that's probably, an upsetting thing for the Xbox fans who are still kind of like staying in there. It's not 30%, it's now 29%. Yeah, we had a pretty passionate debate this morning in Morning Coffee. That's a great reason to be a member as well. We kind of greased the wheels and lit the fires, or I guess you're supposed to say light the fires and kick the tires or whatever. But we kind of already did that this morning, and we can continue that discussion. Essentially, the too long didn't read. If you missed the memo, the Indie Game Awards came out, and they said that they would be disqualifying any game. This was before, right? That you could not be qualified for a nomination if you use Gen AI at all, generative AI. And a 5-bomb comes in from Haseo, and he says, let's do it. Let's get that after Frickmas party. Thank you, Haseo. Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas to all of you, by the way. If you're going to be traveling and you don't catch any more shows this week, or you're watching this later, I hope you had a very Merry Christmas. Or if you celebrate a different holiday, I hope that was great too. If you're unable to do that and you're like stuck at home or stuck in the office or what have you, hopefully you can hang out here in the Discord or with me or during the live streams and at least have some folks to, maybe play some video games with or something. Like, don't get too isolated around the holidays. I know it can be hard for people. It can be really bad for some people's mental health. So don't do that. Don't isolate. We've got a members-only Discord. You can hang out with folks in there and play games. Mike on the mic coming in with 45 months in the VIP. What it do, chat? He says, what's up, Lono? Good morning, people. What's good, man? Good to see you. Let me add to the total. Murray Crimmon, that's right. If the industry wants to take a stand against AI, says Gail Winforce, then they need to actually decide what aspects of it should not be used. Expedition 33 used similar to Larian's as a placeholder. It never replaced someone. Right. Didn't replace somebody, didn't get rid of a job, didn't lead to, slop in the game. It was a texture placeholder. So, yeah. And now we're getting now people are going to be coming out and be like, we don't use it. We don't use it all. Merry Christmas to all the community here. Merry Christmas to you, Behemoth. Good to see you. It's like they got a Porsche commercial. Oh, the new holiday commercial uses blended hand-drawn art with 3D animation. No AI was used at all. I think that's okay. If you want to, I'm off video games and vodka time. Hey, man, let's do it. If you're wanting to promote the fact that you didn't use AI at all, that's totally fine. Go for it. Let everybody know that everything you're doing is, totally made by you. I think that that's totally fine. But here's the thing, all right? Here's the thing. If we're going to vilify studios for using it, I think it needs to be pretty blatant or bad or obvious or something. It needs to be more than just they used it and I'm angry. Does that make sense? If that's all it is they used it and I'm angry, don't buy this game, don't support the studio, whatever. I don't feel like that's a strong enough argument. We're close to 100 likes, guys. Let's get those first 100 likes. We're not even live for 10 minutes. You guys are crushing it. Expedition 33 director says that their next game won't be a large-scale production, and these past 5 years have been some of the best of his life. 90% of game development involves generative AI, including text, image, video, audio, and coding on the back end. It's a time save. Zubair says they are going to use it and be okay with missing out on some awards. More than likely, or they just won't admit that they've used it. What do they care? Yeah, go ahead. Give us the nomination. Give us the free press. Oh, you took the award away later at a later date because you found out we used it. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not justifying lying or dishonesty, but a lot of studios would come to that conclusion. They'd be like, we just aren't going to tell you then. Skill Up made that point on the Friends Per Second podcast. I was listening to them talk about it. And Jake Baldino, Jake was like, I don't want this in games at all. I think it works against creativity. He's like, I can get pretty passionate about this. And, but he admitted there needed to be some nuance because that was something that Skill Up was saying. It's like there has to be some nuance here. Like, if a company uses it for a little bit and it helped them, they're just going to say they didn't use it, or they're going to call it something else. They're going to be like, oh, we use this such and such tool, and they're not going to let you know. It's going to start to become that shell game with the studios. If you start vilifying this to this degree, and listen, I brought this up in my upload. The major issue here is you're going after studios that are probably the biggest benefactors of some of these tools. Do you know what I mean? They're taking back their Game of the Year. No. This is the Indie Game Awards. It's not the Game Awards. It's a completely different organization. Hopefully I didn't speak too fast and make that seem... I don't want anybody to be misinformed here. It was not Jeff Keighley's Game Awards. They don't have a stipulation about this. There's an organization called the Indie Game Awards, IGA, and they publicly before now have said we will not be nominating games that use Gen AI. So it's not something new that they came up with. This is something that they've had in place for a while. We have a bunch of coffee orders going out today, guys. Thanks to everybody who ordered last week. The light roast and the medium roast are the cheapest they've ever been. So if you're looking to grab some last minute, Christmas ideas, the next couple of days we'll be running those to the post office to get those out. So no guarantee this week that you'll have them in time for Christmas, but we'll do our absolute best to get them out as soon as possible. Both today, a bunch are going out, and then the next couple of days, if there's any more orders that come in. The awards definitely need to go to do more investigation if they're going to disqualify games for using AI to any extent. Just asking, did you use AI is not enough. How are they going to do that, Patrick? Right? Like, how are you going to do that? How would an organization do investigations into every single studio? Like, to what degree? Like, you think a studio is just going to, like, let you, like, show up and comb through your computers and your tools and like what? Like, interrogate your workforce? Like, they don't have... There's literally no reason that a studio would allow you to do that. So there can't be an investigation. They just have to literally trust that somebody is going to tell the truth. Did they take away Blueprint's nominations as well? A blanket rule mean a lot of nominations are invalid. They did specify generative AI. They did. They specified generative AI. They didn't say just like any AI. Well, my question would be, why do you think Blueprints would have theirs pulled away, Gail? I didn't see anything about that. That's my point, Patrick says. There's no way, so it's dumb. Oh, I understand your point. Your point is, listen, if you can't do some kind of an investigation, how could you possibly know what you're being told is true? So I'm assuming this is from their question or their website or what have you. Let's take a look at this. So it says here, why were Claire Obscure Expedition 33 and One Vanguard retracted from the 2025? The Indie Game Awards have a hard stance on the use of Gen AI throughout the nomination process and during the ceremony itself. When it was submitted for consideration, a representative of Sandfall Interactive agreed that no Gen AI was used in development of Claire Obscure Expedition 33. In light of a Surface interview with Sandfall Interactive confirming the use of Gen AI art in production being brought to our attention on the day of the Indie Awards premiere, this does disqualify Expedition 33 from its nomination. While the assets in question were patched out, and it's a wonderful game, it does go against the regulations we have in place. As a result, the IGA's nomination committee has agreed to officially retract both the debut game and Game of the Year awards. Now, my personal theory about what happened here is the question was answered. Sandfall essentially said, there is no generative AI in our game, which is true. The game does not contain any Gen AI. They patched out there were like, I think texture placeholders. So those were patched out. So that's what I believe happened here. I don't believe Sandfall lied and got caught in like an interview later publicly saying that they had some in the game that was then removed or that they had used Gen AI at some point. I believe they answered the question in the spirit of the question, which was like, well, no, our game doesn't have any Gen AI in it. What the Indie Game Awards is getting at is, did you use it at all? Which is interesting, isn't it? They're not saying, well, does your game contain it? Do you have things in your game that you didn't basically create, that generative AI created? They're not asking that question. They're asking, did you use it at all? So you could be in your concept art phase, and an intern could be like, hey, I use Gen AI to come up with some of these pieces here. Use these as a mood board for inspiration. And then that intern walks away, and you're like, okay, hey, thanks, that's awesome. And then for the rest of the process, you never use generative AI. According to these rules and the way that they're being applied here, you'd be disqualified. You would be disqualified because you used, somebody at the studio at one point in time used a generative AI tool, and it's over. You're disqualified now. Because again, like, it could be something as minimal as that. Is like, oh yeah, we just need a mood board for, you know, open world fantasy where there's, you know, trees similar to redwoods and purple swamps. And you put that prompt in and you throw that on a mood board. So it's just sitting there, like, kind of like bouncing off the neurons in your brain to, like, okay, it might stimulate some ideas. That would count. If you use it for, like, the one company, it might have been Larian. I think it was Larian who said, you know, they use it for PowerPoint presentations. Seems draconian. I mean, this is essentially how I looked at it. I looked at it in 3 ways. Number 1, the Indie Game Awards can have any rules they want. It doesn't matter to me what their rules are. I'm just here to tell you. You're not going to have any games to nominate in the coming years. You're not. You're not gonna, what are you going to nominate? There are going to be engines going forward that have Gen AI built in to a degree. If you use that engine, you're disqualified. Well, we don't use the tools, though. It doesn't matter. They'll probably be like, nah, it doesn't matter. You're using the engine. The engine has Gen AI built into it. You're feeding into a machine that we don't want to support, what have you, right? So if Gen AI is used anyway, you're not going to have any games to nominate. You just aren't. I feel a little stupid asking this, but we keep saying generative AI. What other kinds of AI are there? Well, there's AI that doesn't generate anything, right? There would be you have machine learning and AI that can do essentially like a check. It can check your game for bugs. It could check your script for grammatical errors. Generative meaning to generate. It's creating something. Yeah, mama. Yeah, Zuby changed his order this time around. It surprised me too when the order came through. Madam literally just came down and made sure that your coffee order was not 3 dark. She was like, he got one of each. Yeah, like there's generative where it's like it is creating something, and then there's this AI that might just be like doing some kind of a check or doing some kind of a debugging process, or you know. And here's where it really gets crazy. You like sales? Yeah. Our light roast and our medium roast is on sale, and we got Zuby to not just buy dark roast. That's how that works. Telling a studio they can't use their own engine is going to be wilder than did you use AI at all. People use AI like Grok, Gemini, etc. So long as the game turned out amazing, I don't see the issue. Right, so in this particular conversation about Expedition 33, it's very similar to the Larian Studios conversation in Baldur's Gate 3, where you come to find out they've used it to any degree and people are very angry. Again, there's a level of like purity testing here. And in my video, I called it like current thing activism. It's the current thing, and everybody's super passionate about it. And I'm always extremely cautious of people who have landed so firm in a conviction so quickly. I'm like, man, oh man, everybody's head is spinning with respect to AI. We're all trying to kind of play catch up here. How do you already, think so strongly about this? Now, I think there are people that have done due diligence and they've done the research and they're like, this came up the other day and this was brought to my attention. I'd never heard of this before, but like these data centers that are cropping up, and there's such a drain on the electrical grid that they're passing off increased electrical costs to the consumer. Okay. Now that to me is an emergent property of generative AI. Okay. Because generative AI, these companies that are trying to use it, they need these data centers to do all the processing because it just takes so much to do it. Right. So that's this emergence that comes out of it. Okay. that's not necessarily directly related to a company that decides to use it for, in this case, placeholder textures. Okay, they were just trying to maybe get through some development phase or something, proof of concept, I don't know, and they spit out, these textures. So there are people that have done the due diligence to say, hey, this is actually bad. Okay, the data centers in particular, that's bad for the consumer. Maybe you're going to go the green route and you're going to say, it's bad for the environment, carbon footprint, all of that. Okay, let's just grant that that's true. We're granting it's true that it's happening. I'm not granting it true that it's wrong, because that's a moral judgment. That's an ethical judgment. Those can't be necessarily true or false, because that's a matter of opinion. So that can get a little bit more dicey. So we're just going to grant the premise and the fact that it is true that these data centers are cropping up, that it is true it's, a strain on the electrical grid, and, consumers are being charged more. Okay. The avenue for that fight would be one through local government, which is not something that I cover here or talk about here, but that's what you'd have to do. You would have to go to your local government and say, we are being harmed by this. We ought to be protected. They should carry the brunt of the increased costs, not us. The data center should be paying for that. The company that put it there should be paying for that, not us. This should not be something that we're having to bear the burden of. And if you don't do something about this, we will elect somebody that will. Okay? That's the course of action that would likely have to happen in order to get some level of consumer protection within this realm. This sort of thing happens all the time. If a factory were to move in right behind your neighborhood and it started doing all sorts of garbage and bad things, and it was making, your houses were covered in soot and they were throwing garbage, and it was smelling, like, you would obviously have to see, hey, there needs to be things enforced here, right? And a lot of times there's ordinances and things about factories and how close they can be to, to neighborhoods and things of that matter. So, like, this is another environment where it's like, you can have a go at Larian, you can have a go at Sandfall and Expedition 33. That really doesn't have anything to do with these data centers and the problems that you have with them. Yeah, you might even have to go bigger picture, Garrett, and go beyond local and state and go federal, right? Like state level, federal level. Like, that's a whole branch of a conversation I am not equipped to have. So I'm staying very 30,000 feet. I'm like, listen, if this is indeed happening, premise, fact, it's happening, it's causing strain, it's being passed on to consumers, that's then something consumers would have to draw to the attention of the government and say, hey, this shouldn't be happening. We're being harmed by this. Okay. And then you would hope that they would do something about it. Okay. Setting that aside, I don't think that in particular has anything to do with Expedition 33 and Larian Studios. I also think there's two conversations happening. There is a conversation about the impact that this is having on economy, environment, consumers, okay? So that's like we'll call that the consumer economic effect, okay? Because if it starts to hurt the environment, that can affect you as a consumer, because it can affect the economy, right? If water starts to dry up and trees start to fall down, I mean, that will affect your economy. It will. It'll affect your bills. It'll affect your water bill. It'll affect the electrical grid and its stability or what have you. That's going to affect you. So we'll call this whole branch of the conversation over here, economic effect on the consumer. This branch over here is the one that, like, the Indie Game Awards seems to be on, and that they don't think it is in the spirit of art and creation. They don't think Gen AI should be used. They're opposed to it, right? I feel like they're taking a more philosophical approach. Like, over here is more factual, right? It's more factual. It's like, these are, factual, measurable economic effects that can happen in cities, towns, and to the consumer. Okay, these are measurable and should be handled with care. That's what the government's there to do, right? They're there to protect us, okay? That's their job. They work for us. Well, That's a whole other conversation. They work for corporations at this point. Anyways, the republic is now a corporatist republic. Anyways, so you come over here, though, and you want to have a philosophical discussion about creation. That's a conversation we can actually have, I think, in the realm of gaming and in the realm of game development, because I don't think this is going away. I don't. And I don't necessarily agree with Garrett that it's anti-creativity and anti-art, because it's all in the usage. It's all in the usage. You could use generative AI to spit out a couple of concepts to brainstorm, and then you create all of your own stuff after the fact. Would you say that person was anti-creative and they're not creating art? If they're like, yeah, I really, really wanted a futuristic sort of retro sci-fi vibe. I wanted to be kind of mixed with fantasy. And so I had it spit out some concept art to inspire me. I threw that on a mood board and I stared at it for a couple of weeks, and I started coming up with creatures and villages and towns and this whole world all on my own, right? They go into the programs and they create everything all on their own. I would say that that's not antithetical to art. I don't think that they've done anything that's anti-creative. Now, if they push the button, generative AI creates everything, and the vibe, feel, and the art direction of the game was literally created by the Gen AI, then I think you'd be able to, number one, I think you'd be able to tell. Okay? I think you'd be able to tell. I think you would see, hey, this is very uninspired and hollow and vacant. This looks like slop to me, right? And I think that would naturally work its way out. I don't think games like that will be very successful if it's that detectable. Skill did an interview with Parton Devs who said they did exactly what you're saying, and it slowed the process, not helped it. Oh, Larian. Yes, that's another aspect of this that I think is important, but here's why I don't think that's an enduring point. Because eventually it will help. Right now, sure, they're not seeing a ton of help. It's not making things more efficient. Okay? I want you to be very, very careful in your thinking here. Why do you think they're saying that? Why do you think they're coming to the conclusion that it's not actually helping all that much? It's not actually making things more efficient. Why do you think they're saying that? Because that's the goal. The goal is to make things more efficient. So the question is not whether or not AI and Gen AI makes things more efficient. The question is, when will it? Right? Because it will. I think it's fair to assume that at some point it'll start to help. It'll start to become more efficient and more effective. It'll become better at what it's supposed to do. Every iteration we have seen has gotten better with time. Look at how quickly we went from nightmare fuel, Will Smith eating spaghetti, to the most recent version of Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it's like it's coming out of the uncanny valley. It's coming right out of the uncanny valley. It's getting better. It's like, oh wow, that's so close to being able to trick people. I mean, it's right on the edge of being able to trick people. That to me says you'll get efficiency gains as well. With enough time, I think you'll get efficiency gains. I think that's a fair prediction to make. I mean, I could be proven wrong in the coming years, but I would think the reason that they're saying, yeah, it's not really helping right now, it's not really making us more efficient, is because that is the goal. Which means, listen, people can pearl clutch and get moralistic about this, legalistic, and you can do all the purity testing you want. If a studio finds that a new version, iteration, or some Gen AI tool helps them be quicker, faster, more efficient, if it lowers their development costs, you better believe they're going to do it. And this is where you really get into a quandary. This is where the thought experiments get really complex. What if you in the future are working at a company, let's just imagine you're at developer, Star Studio, and Star Studio finds that they can shave a significant amount of money off the budget by using some of these new Gen AI tools or whatever. And because they're able to shave that money off the budget, they keep people employed. They were facing budget cuts. Like, we got to cut the budget somehow. And in this thought experiment that I'm putting before you, they're able. And again, I'm envisioning a future where this stuff starts to get better and is more efficient. And they're like, yeah, this tool's really going to help us. It's really going to trim down the budget. We're going to be able to streamline so many of our processes. Okay? Listen, they're going to say these tools helped us lower budget. We kept more people employed. We didn't have to lay anybody off. We were having to trim the budget. We found another way of doing it. Legalistic, I add something to my vocab every week on this channel. Legalistic is a bit of a home turf term within Christian circles. It usually refers to somebody who is being very moralistic, very legalistic. They're rules oriented, they're rigid, they're judgmental, they're very here's another one for you. They're very pharisaical. So like, I see a lot of parallels here. I grew up in an environment like that. I did. I grew up in a religious environment like that, and boy, oh boy, do I see a lot of parallels here. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like and I called it in my video like current thing activism. Whatever the current thing is, right? Current thing activism. I feel like the people that do this, it's like they're a lot of the times they would hate this to be said about them. It's like, you're acting really, really religious. They would be like, I am not religious. You are in your own way. Yo, XCal coming in with 43 months. Let me add you to the total. We got a big goal, boys. Pharisees, that's what pharisaical means. Yes. To be like a Pharisee. Yes. We got a big goal for the week. It's for the After Frickmas party. And you guys can help us hit it. We're also tracking Member Plus and above now. So, I have not had to gift a member yet. Let's hit that first milestone of 25. I'm not even going to try and spell that one. I use Gen AI to spell pharisaical. There you go. Yeah, so, in general, when it comes to this conversation, I do think there's a quickness with which people have concluded this is wrong, this is bad. And I think it's going to be very difficult going forward to be like, hey, we're using these tools and it really helped us. We're a small studio and this game wouldn't have been possible. You know, if you've got 10 people on a shoestring budget with a dream of making a game, and there are future, generative AI tools that help them do this, it's really hard, I think, to be that rigid and be like, no, your game is bad and you guys should have found another way or spent more money, or you should have hired voice actors, or you should have hired writers. And they're like, we literally couldn't. We literally did not have the money. XCal's going to walk this one to the door. There's a single to get us a 24. Thank you so much, sir. Nothing wrong with using AI unless you're letting the AI create the entire game start to finish, which a handful of people have already spoken about. That's not really going to be a possibility, like removing humans from the equation. Haseo lands the plane, the first 25 of the week. Thank you so much, Haseo, for getting us there. I owe you guys a member. Guys, make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you're checking your renewals. They add to the total. If you're renewing your membership, we're going to be counting all renewals this week as we try to get this big goal, and Biggie Smalls is going to help with his renewal. Welcome back, my friend. All these devs use Photoshop to clean up images and use the magic wand, not pixel by pixel. And we all do that, so we all use AI. Should they go back to cleaning pixel by pixel? Pixel by pixel. Pickle by pickle? No. Here's the thing. The issue that most people take is not AI generically. It's generative AI that they take issue with. That's the issue. The issue is not, hey, don't you dare use AI. It's generative AI. That's the issue. My favorite game of the year, it's pretty much a tie between Ghost of Yotei and Expedition 33. I loved them both. I really did. Guys, if you're here right now and you're enjoying the conversation, make sure you hit the like button. Take a quick second. You can even talk in the Discord. Talk in the chat. I'm sorry, not the Discord. AI songwriting and singing is so absurdly good already. Using the magic wand won't select your image unless it's on a plain background. Well, I think there's a misunderstanding here. And Haseo is going to gift another one and bump the line. He's trying to get a little member train going. I appreciate you, Haseo. Always the man. I think what people are missing is generative AI is different than just like the use of AI. Like if you use some artificial intelligence or like a machine learning library to like check your writing for, grammatical mistakes, check your code for bugs, things like this. You can write scripts and automated tools that are essentially versions of AI that are doing automated tasks to speed up the work. I don't think people, unless they're really super ignorant on the subject, I don't think people are like just blank check against AI. That would be absurd. They also wouldn't be able to play virtually any game because pretty much any game that you play used some version of automated tasks and versions of AI here, there, everywhere, bug testing, what have you. Running simulations, okay? They're literally using electricity and processing power to run simulations sometimes like overnight. They want to make a W emoji. I'm not sure why we would do that. A gifted comes in from Ward Huff. Let me add it to the total. A little single train might have started. Haseo, you've always been so good at getting the people to do things here, man. Appreciate you, Haseo. We already have 130 likes as well. Some are. My sister-in-law won't use the Alexa or the Siri. Yeah, there are people that are just like very much against it. They're like, yeah, the robots are here. They're going to kill us. The issue that happened with Expedition 33 Disqualified from the Game Awards, the issue with Larian Studios and Baldur's Gate 3. Well, I guess this would be Divinity. The Divinity announcement trailer. Like all of that is what's sort of coming under scrutiny and coming under fire. I'll admit I'm being pedantic here, but I need help understanding the definition of generative AI being used. What does count as generative AI? Is translation generative? That would be a question for the people taking the hard stance, Zubair, and here's the thing. Everybody's going to have a different definition. I said this in Morning Coffee this morning. I don't think we're going to get agreeance on this matter. People that are like, yeah, you shouldn't use Gen AI. Well, they might not have a problem if you're using generative AI translation tools. They might not. Or they might have a problem with it. No, you should hire a translator. You're taking the job away from a translator to do that work for you. Oh, okay. Do you see? Like I don't think you're going to get agreeance on any of this. Because for some people, they think of generative AI, they can think of creating images. They think of creating music, voices, images, videos. It generated something of substance within the realm of artistic expression or artistic creation. What's my definition? Okay. Within this discussion, Haseo comes in with another one. Thank you so much, Haseo. Within this discussion, I would say the most helpful definition is the most basic one, and is that generative AI is any form of AI or machine learning that generates something that wasn't there prior. Haseo comes in with a member. We're at 30. We're 20 away from 50. Haseo's trying to bait the first 20 bomb of the week. I appreciate you, Haseo. So it generated something that was not there before. So you didn't have art, character, picture, video, song, sound, voice, or translation, like words, right? If those words weren't there before, if it was in English and now you have an entire script in Korean, that wasn't there before. The AI generated it. All of that's generative AI. All of it. That's why I think in this discussion, it's very difficult on the people who are being so rigid and sweeping. It's like, you're going to have a really hard time playing anything because you're going to be specific. Oh, well, no, that generative AI doesn't count. Like, they might be like, it's fine if you use it for translation, but it's wrong to use for voices and music. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think it's easier to be consistent if you're not being that rigid. Metal Matt comes in with a gifted member and bumps the line to 31. Thank you so much. And if they don't have translator money, then what? Right, exactly, Gone Kid. Now you have ethical and moral imperatives at loggerheads. It's like, well, you should hire the translator. Well, we can't. We literally don't have the money. Well, now, Korean-speaking persons won't be able to play and enjoy our game. Don't we want to make our game available to as many people as possible? Don't we want to remove barriers of access so that people can enjoy something? Oh, I've got a real good one for you. What if there are generative AI tools that are developed to make games more accessible with respect to colorblind modes or other impairments that people have? That's something that people see as a very good and moral imperative, to make games more accessible to others who may not be able to play them due to motor function or visual or auditory impairments. What do you do now? We could use these tools and put those things in our game so people with visual or motor function impairments or auditory impairments, they can enjoy our game. Oh, but you use generative AI, so no, it's wrong. It wasn't in the budget. We really wanted to do that. I apologize again for being difficult, but if I have a model that names the people in my photos, is that labeled generative? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. According to my definition, that's generative AI, Zubair. You used processing power, machine learning, in a database to create something that wasn't there before. It was generative. It generated it. It didn't do it ex nihilo. It didn't do it from nothing, but it certainly created something that was not there before. Can you imagine how great it would be if there was software suite you could run on your game and add all the accessibility features? I would imagine something like that will exist in the future. Like imagine being able to run something that just can oh yeah, now we have closed captions. It just did it. So people that can't hear can play our game and know what everybody's saying. Oh yeah, descriptive audio. Descriptive audio for, whether it's soundtrack or sound effects in the environment to make it more immersive for people who can't hear. So again, now you have moral imperatives that are at loggerheads. The moral imperative of we think that you ought to make your game more accessible to more people. We think that you ought not use generative AI. Now we have imperatives that are butting heads. A tiny one-man dev studio adding those features. Exactly. You got less than 10 people working on your game, and you can add accessibility features that you could not have ever thought of dreaming about in the past. Why? I don't know. Gen AI comes in and saves the day. You have an entire soundtrack for your game. None of you and your buddies are musical. You're all coding nerds, and you made a really cool game, and you're really excited about it, and you're able to have a soundtrack for your game. Why? Well, you used Gen AI. It's going to be great for blind people. My father uses audio description to watch TV. AI has improved his life. Adding a layer to apply colorblind mode. There you go. This is why I said in my video, I'm always very leery of people who are just this is it. This is the conclusion. We are right. I'm whoa. Wait just a minute. Hang on. Let's pump the brakes here. I appreciate your conviction and your passion, but let's just slow all the way down here. There's a bit of a moral conundrum for me eating cows, but I'm kind of okay with eating evil cows. It's tough. How I see people complaining about AI. No AI still uses AI-driven social media. That surprised Pikachu face is truly horrifying. That is awful. It's one of the worst things I think I've ever seen. We must be getting a lot of viewership today from the short shelf. So if you found me through shorts, you can come on over to the full stream, join the conversation, hit sub, hit like. If you guys are watching right now, feel free just to chime in the chat, spam an emoji, say hello, good morning, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It's always good to see all the lurkers chime in every once in a while. Also, that like button is immensely helpful. Let's try to get to 200 likes. Just look at games today. We have PS5 games on phones. I'm not sure what point you're making. The console industry crashed in the 80s because of slop games. AI wasn't around in this capacity back then. So this is another thing that I said in my video. Good morning, good morning. This is another thing that I said in my video last night, which if you guys haven't watched it, be sure to check it out. It's about, Expedition 33 being disqualified from the Indie Game Awards. And another thing that I said in my video was, I am a bit of a Darwinist when it comes to entertainment. I believe that really crappy AI slop, uninspired, hollow, vacant games, they will get exactly what they ought to get. Nobody's going to need to be like, hey, that game is a bunch of AI slop. I think people will be able to tell. Now, there is a problem with my theory. I'll admit this. Yo, it's good, Ray. How are you? There's a problem with my theory. And it goes back to that Will Smith eating spaghetti. It goes from nightmare fuel to almost being good enough to trick people. I mean, it's right there, and it didn't take long. So here's an issue with sort of my theory and my outlook here. Isn't AI Slop getting some money out of YouTube? Yeah, it's one of the reasons that YouTube is in such disrepair. Like Maximilian tweeted about it. He had one of his more loyal subscribers saying, like, I had to come to your channel and realize you had made a bunch of videos that I hadn't seen. And I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what that feels like. We've been dealing with that all year. Really loyal people being like, I can't find your stuff anymore. And those are just the people that wander in here and manage to continue watching. What about everybody else who thinks I took a big vacation? Why? They did too much with AI too fast. And it's also overrunning the platform, okay? They're thankfully seemingly kicking a lot of it off the platform. Here's the thing. And this is a dilemma with my theory and my sort of Darwinistic outlook that, like, yeah, if it's a crap game, if it's slop, it'll crash and it'll burn, okay? This doesn't work for very long. Because I think in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be harder and harder to deduce. I think it'll be harder and harder to deduce. I think you could have an entire game where the characters were made by AI, voiced by AI, script was written by AI, and it'll be harder to detect. And that's just in like 2 or 3 years. What about in 5 years? What about when we walk into like the PlayStation 6, Xbox Magnus era of time where, these guys are talking about neural processing to make the games look better and to be processed faster and lighter. And you could have internal mechanisms within the game that are generating quest lines, dialogue. Who knows? Oh yeah, there's channels that push it out, Zoob, which is another reason that guys like me have been hurt this year, because it's like having a mechanism that's set up to spin at a certain speed because water's hitting it, and you suddenly add a billion more tons of water. It's like, it's not set up for that. It's going to spin so fast it damages itself. It's sort of like, have you guys ever watched when they take a dryer? Because a dryer will just spin and spin and spin, and it'll destroy itself when they throw like a cinder block or like a bowling ball in it. That's kind of like what happened with YouTube. It was like, it's this thing that's spinning really fast. It's this mechanism of like videos and live streams and and all of a sudden it's like, let's just throw a bowling ball in there and add a bunch of weight to the algo, just like bam, and it's like, and all of a sudden you have guys like me that like, I'm like, every single thing died for me in January. That's one of the reasons the website's just overwhelmed with that content. There's too much of it, and so it affects the mechanism. I've never seen that now, but now I need to. You need the visual. It's pretty impressive. The dryer will literally run until it destroys itself. It's a bit of an analogy, I think, like hunting for wolves in the Arctic, which is a little bit more grotesque, but it's a similar idea. Haseo gifts another member. He's like, boys, we got a big goal to hit this week for Christmas. And he keeps adding it. Did you watch Asmund play the AI-generated game? It looked like a perfectly playable Vampire Hunter's Clone made by a small indie team. Perfect? No, but I would not have guessed it was AI-made. I've not seen Asmund playing that, but that's my point. So my Darwinistic outlook on this actually, I think, is it's not a complete view of this. It isn't. I haven't completely fleshed out my view because I'm asking myself this question, and I'm also asking chat this question, okay? what do we do in 5 years when a game heavily leaned on generative AI and we can't tell and it's good? What do we do? I don't know. I don't know what I do. I truly don't know. There's a part of me that thinks that's what technology does. It moves ever forward and it becomes more efficient, more effective, and more refined, right? I don't know. Is the only litmus test like quality and value, like as they're subjectively received by the consumer? Like, I don't know. I struggle with this because I have really bright lines on certain moral and ethical dilemmas. You know, if a company's going to be dishonest or defraud the customer, steal, embezzle, things like that, obviously those are non-negotiables. Anything pertaining to harming children, that's a non-negotiable for me, right? I couldn't work on some of those task forces. I'd get kicked off those task forces because, like, day one, they'd be like, we caught a guy that did all these terrible, heinous things, and you just killed him. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm not cut out for this. I don't have the temperament for it. I wouldn't be able to do it, right? Those are non-negotiables for me. Anything pertaining with children, right? If a company does anything like that, I have a serious problem with that. This is more difficult because it's like, okay, it's a tool, it's better, it's faster, it has the potential to replace people, as many automative things in the history of humankind have done, both in factory work and within even cashiers, you know, can be at some level replaced now by these self-checkouts, right? Automation is a force of nature. It's a force of nature. It removes the need for certain things as well as certain positions. So it can have that effect. But then I'm like, okay, that we can't wring our hands over that every time that happens. Like, these businesses don't owe you employment. They don't. Like, they don't owe you employment. In order to stay open and be a business, they have to constantly look for ways to maximize their profitability so they can either expand, and if they expand, often that does lead to more people getting hired. Not always, but it can. So I don't know. I don't have a hard conclusion on this. I don't know how people have arrived at conclusions so quickly. I think I've heard self-checkout is being seen as a massive mistake, and stores want to bring back humans. It wouldn't surprise me if it hurts a sense of rapport. There's a reason that I would go back to certain restaurants. I got to know the owner and the waitstaff, and I wonder if it's causing issues with that. Like, yeah, people maybe buy less, shop less, return to stores less. You're removing human connection from an environment that has naturally had it for a very long time. Being helped to find, you know, where the spices moved to because everything's been moved around, or, you know, asking the person at checkout, you know, why they ran out of a certain item or something. Like, I don't know. You remove that element from the exchange and it probably harms trust, loyalty, and rapport, which are, you know, tenets of business when people have to come in, you know. People definitely steal more at self-checkout. Oh, yeah, that probably has led to a lot of what is called, what's that called? Loss prevention, LP. What I forget what we called it when I worked in retail, but yeah, probably a lot harder to control loss prevention. You have one person making minimum wage standing there, like, watching like all these people check out. I mean, you know, there's a variety of ways that people are probably, you know, gaming that system as well. In any case, whether you're Expedition 33 or your Larian Studios, or I don't know if you guys saw the Battlefield 6 one. Did you guys see the Battlefield 6 AI, controversy? And I feel like they said they weren't using it. I swore they said they weren't using it. Yeah, shrink. That's the word. Thank you, Air John Meyer. I couldn't think of the word they used. Yeah, shrink. In Massachusetts, we have a store called Market Basket. Best store ever. They push human interaction, refuse to get automated cashiers and workers, and the store is always booming. That's right. That's right. Especially when you deal with older folks. They're going to want to be able to go in and talk to somebody. Yeah, so here it is. This definitely looks AI generated. So the reason this looks AI generated is because the gun has 2 barrels. It seems like it has two iron sights, or like the iron sight kind of glitched out. Surprisingly enough, the hands aren't the worst part. But the hands do seem to have some, I don't know, the shading here doesn't seem quite right. Like the forefinger should have equal shading because they're both, I don't know. I think this is pretty obviously AI. At least it looks like it's to me. Now, they could come out and say no, but this looks like AI to me. I thought for certain they said that they weren't using it. Isn't that what is the, it's not just the issue that they used it. I thought they said that they weren't using it at all. The fact that they didn't catch it before releasing shows how little they were trying. They got your money, they don't care. One user condemned the wider use of AI. AR generated based on stolen artwork and takes jobs away from real artists. Another echoed the statement. I didn't pay for AI garbage. Pay your artists. Did they not say it does cartoon better than realism? I thought that the devs came out and said that they would not be using AI, and they basically got caught. This is them getting caught using it, is what it seems like to me, at least. Never heard of a double barrel assault rifle. Battlefield 6 devs said they won't use AI. The Battlefield developer, specifically DICE GM Rebecca Kutaz, initially stated that players wouldn't see AI-generated content in the final game. Let's see if we can find that quote here. Okay. This is from Windows Central. In the lead up to launch, Battlefield's European General Manager Rebecca Kutaz stated that players would not see generative AI used within Battlefield 6 itself. She did acknowledge that generative AI was explored during preparatory stages, describing it as a way to, quote, allow time for and more place to be creative. So, yeah, they specifically said you wouldn't see it in the game. Now, this could be a similar situation to what happened with Sandfall, right, where it ended up in Expedition 33 and it wasn't supposed to be there. So this could be a mistake. It's possible that they're like, whoops-a-daisy. It would be weird to say, oh, we only use it in preparatory stages. That doesn't look like a preparatory stage to me. That looks like something that you made specifically to be implemented. That doesn't seem like an oops-a-daisy to me. Again, that's just my personal opinion. I could be 100% wrong here. I'm just giving my opinion on it. And my opinion is that doesn't look like something you did in preparation for development, like exploring ideas. That looks like you literally said, this is what we need it to look like. Please make it. Using it at any stage is using AI. The devs need to stop with this. No, here's why I think they're saying what they're saying, Paul. I think that they know the average consumer doesn't care if you use it along the way. They don't want to be able to tell. Like, I think the average consumer is like, I don't care if you use it, but I don't want to be able to tell that you used it. I don't want to see like those, like a good example is the Call of Duty AI. It was so obvious that they did it. It's almost like an insult. It's like you didn't even take the time to make something original. You hit a button somewhere. I think that's why they're saying what they're saying. They're not saying, well, we didn't use it or we only use it here. They're like, listen. It's not going to be in the game. We might use it during initial stages. We might use it, when we're messing around with concept art. You are not going to buy this game and find generative AI, objects, items, what have you in it. It's not going to be there. So I think that's why they're specifying, because I think the average consumer is like, we don't really care as long as we can't tell. It's kind of like what happened with Arc Raiders. Nobody could tell, so nobody cares. Now, if you would have booted up Arc Raiders and you have a you have an AI voice that's breaking and it's not saying things right. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't know how to pronounce rendezvous. So he's like, you must go to the rendezvous location. You'd be like, huh? Like, you'd be like, what's going on here? You would know. You'd be like, oh, they used AI. Well, people would be upset about that. Yeah, the zombies with the 6 fingers, things like that. The average consumer doesn't care. We have a word for what's going on. I don't agree that Paul's using a word I'm not really going to say. I guess like kitty cat footing around. Listen, I don't agree that's what they're doing. I think they're letting consumers know, yeah, it's not going to be in your game. We might use it, but you're not going to see generative AI items in the game because people don't want to see it. They're sick of seeing it. It's been stigmatized. Another thing too, Lono says, Gone Kid, it's just going to make artists and creators go over stuff with a sharp fine-tooth comb because anything close that's going to look like their work is going to come for that check, for sure. Consumers saying, I don't want to tell you use it is the same energy of those made on underpaid basic slave labor making the cell phone you post on with. It's kind of similar, yes. Yeah, like they don't want to know. Kitty cat footing. Yeah, I'm not. I try to keep it safe for work, y'all. I try to keep it safe for work. That's a bit of a crass word is all. I think beating around the bush might be another way of saying it at this point. Yeah, I don't know if beating around the bush is applicable. You can try to compel me that they are beating around the bush. I feel like they're answering the question honestly. Now, I'm not specifically talking about Battlefield 6. Let's take Larian or Sandfall with Expedition 33 as an example. I don't think they're tiptoeing or beating around the bush. I think they're being specific. I've been on Top Chat this whole time. I think they're being specific. They're like, yeah, we might have used it, to put some like placeholder textures in there, but our game doesn't have any Gen AI in it. Like that to me, and here's the thing. This is why I think they're slicing this, because to them it's a big difference. As developers, as creatives, I think they see the difference. They're like, oh, no, our game doesn't have that in it. Yeah, we might have used some tools along the way to spark ideas or get fresh takes or something like that. Or just put placeholders in place so we could move on to the next task. You know what I mean? Like if they just put placeholders in place so they could move on to the next task, in their mind, that is not a part of the creative process. When it came time to create those assets and those textures, they did it. That means to them, they take pride in being the one that made it. And if they use the tool to like fill in gaps so they can move along in a presentation or a test or a vertical slice or whatever it is that they're doing, I think that's why they compartmentalize it, because they don't view it as creation. They're like, no. That's just a tool that we use to get to the next step. We're not using it to actually create something. It's a placeholder. Does that make sense? It would be like doing a PowerPoint presentation and using a placeholder, and you're like, yeah, just generate an image of a zombie holding a banana. Why? We just need it. We need it. We're going to be talking about absurdity. We're going to be talking about juxtaposition. We're going to be talking about whimsy meets grotesque, and that'll be a good image to demonstrate that. They're not going to put that in the game. They're not. But they're trying to give a visual representation of what they're talking about in their presentation. They're like, yeah, I need a zombie holding a banana. That's all. Just give me that. All right, thank you. Great. Throw it in the presentation. I got to go. But then when they go to create the game, they're not using that. So that's why I think as creatives and as engineers and as developers, they see it as different. Especially when you look at like Expedition 33. It was so artistically driven as a game. For them, it's like, no, our game doesn't have generative AI in it. No, what are you talking? No. They're like, well, yeah, we used it for placeholders. Do you see the difference? Like to them, that's just scaffolding that gets removed. Like think about it like that. You go into a beautiful, beautiful cathedral, I went to, I think it's like one of the biggest cathedrals in the world, down in Mexico City. And when we were there, this is a long, long time ago. This is like 25 years ago when I was there, 25, 26 years ago. And they were remodeling. And the dilemma that they were dealing with was the foundation was shifting due to, I think it was something to do with like water. They were close enough to the coast that the ground itself was shifting beneath, which a cathedral of that size with pillars and structures of that size, that can be catastrophic to that structure, because stone ain't got nothing on earth movement. Like, you can make a whole building out of stone, but if the earth beneath it moves around, that stone gonna crack, okay? So they were remodeling. So we're in this beautiful cathedral, and there's just this ugly scaffolding everywhere. It's ugly. It's utilitarian. There's nothing beautiful about it. There's like tarps draped here and there, and you're like, oh gosh, this just beautiful place has got all this stuff in the way. I think for someone like Sandfall and some developers, they would see using generative AI to like just be a placeholder, just be texture, just be scaffolding. To them, it's ugly. It's utilitarian. It's a tool to get them to the next thing. And then guess what? Just like that beautiful cathedral, when the work is done, the scaffolding comes away. So if they remove that generative AI from the game, they remove those placeholder textures, and in place there's what they actually made. Their stuff is there. The scaffolding becomes immaterial at that point. It's like, why would we? No. They're like, that would be like saying somebody, saying, yeah, your guys' remodel was great, but the scaffolding's really ugly. And they'd be like, there's no scaffolding in our remodel. We used scaffolding to make the remodel, to do the work. Our remodel doesn't have scaffolding in it. Do you see the difference? Like, if you talk to somebody that did a remodel of like a church sanctuary or like a cathedral like that, and somebody said, yeah, you guys did really great work, but the scaffolding's really ugly, they'd be like, we don't have scaffolding in our remodel. We used scaffolding to do the remodel. All that scaffolding's been removed. And if somebody came behind and says, yeah, but you left one way back there in the back, they're like, yeah, that was a mistake. We took care of that. It has since been removed from the premises, so now you can view all of our beautiful work. That's essentially what happened with Expedition 33. Is there was a remaining piece that got left behind. They go in, they take it out, and they're like, yeah, that's not in our work at all. That's the best analogy I can come up with. It just came to me. I didn't put that in the video. That's a great reason to be here for the live environment, because we're going to have these discussions and kind of come up with things on the ad hoc. Yeah, that's not allowed. Your church is disqualified. Asmongold says 90% of gamers don't care about AI being used if they are having fun, and the loud minority on social media who are upset. I don't always agree with him. I think he goes a little too sweeping on this, a little bit. He said something to the effect of, the only people that care about this are, these artists that think they're going to get replaced and they want the jobs or whatever. And I'm like, I think that's a little unfair. I think there are people who have genuine concerns and convictions about this topic. And to sweep those people off the table with the minority, with the people who are sort of being like current thing activism, at one level I kind of agree with him. It's like, yes, there are definitely people that are expressing this frustration out of their own self-interest. They're like, well, I want to keep getting hired, so companies are going to use these tools and I can't get hired. And it's like, this is going to sound really crass, but nobody owes you a job. Like, I've been in the past, I was looking for a job. It sucks to look for a job. It sucks when the job market shifts under your feet and it's hard to find employment. That's not an enjoyable experience. We've all been there, but no one owes you a job. Plenty of people went and got degrees thinking they were going to earn a good living after they graduated, and now they can't find a job. The market shifted. Like, that happens, and it sucks, and it's a bummer, but that happens all the time to people. Industries change. Technology rises and falls in different pockets and in different ways. And so, yeah, you might have invested a lot of your time and career in something, and then it's no longer in demand, and there's no longer employment for you in great number, right? So I get it. I do think there are people that are concerned. I think they have a right to be concerned to a degree. But like, if you are going to say it's wrong because now I can't get a job, I don't think that's a complete argument. That's happened in plenty of ways over the years. That's not always automatically wrong. If automation or a technological advancement replaces a human employee, yes, we bristle at that, but it's also not automatically wrong. Because that could lead to further profitability, further expansion, and actually more people being hired. If a company goes into their factory and they bring in all these automated machines and they eliminate 10 jobs, but it makes that factory more profitable, so they make enough money and they put another factory in another part of town that now employs more people, you lost 10, but you gained 50. Do you see what I'm saying? It's never that simple. You can't just draw a straight line between this thing happened, I now don't have a job, it is therefore wrong. It's like, I don't know if that's always a straight line argument. I think sometimes there's a lot more going on than just, well, I lost my factory job, so this is obviously wrong. Do you get what I'm saying? All these people who can't buy RAM and memory now, who can't escape AI being thrown into the phones, their browsers, their operating systems, or they don't want it. All of them don't care. They'll have fun playing AI games. I think AI games will go through a natural threshing process where the really, really bad ones will go nowhere, and the really, really good ones, people will be like, I don't care if it was made by AI. You know what I mean? Garrett says, Asman also said we should disenfranchise 85% of the population. How about we don't listen to him? In general, I find he gets misquoted quite a bit, and so I'm not going to get into a debate with you about every single thing he's ever said. When someone has a significant platform within the conversation, I don't have a problem interacting with what they say. Like, we're going to pretend that like he didn't say it, or we're going to ignore what he said? Like, I don't think that that's productive. He has one of the largest platforms in the conversation of live streaming and gaming commentary. Like, I think it's perfectly fine to interact with what he's saying. We don't ignore people just because we don't like the things that they have said. I've also found him to be very commonly misquoted. Like, I am never going to get up here and defend everything the guy has said because I don't know everything that he said. That would be absurd for me to think that. It would also be absurd to think that I agree with everything that he said because we're very different people. But I also have found that, like, to completely dismiss him from the conversation because you don't like things he said in the past, like, you don't have to consume his content or watch his stuff, but like, to ignore everything he said, I think is to be that seems to be foolish to me. 1,500 people in Kentucky just lost their jobs. Another 3,500 jobs that were about to be filled are no longer being created because a factory is being turned into a data center. The job loss is 100% real, and people need to stop dismissing it. Here's the issue. Why is that wrong? I'm not saying it's right. You have to argue that it's wrong. If somebody comes in and outbids for property, or the property gets repurposed, or the property owner sees a better opportunity, and that thing doesn't happen, and job loss happens, you have to argue why that's wrong. I'm not going to throw confetti in the air and celebrate people not getting their jobs. I frickin' live here. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I want people to have jobs. I want people providing for their families and spending money into the economy. I want that. That's good for me. That's good for all of us. But how can I argue that that's wrong? I'm struggling to think of a way to argue that that's wrong. That happens all of the time. Right or wrong doesn't matter. Consumer sentiment is all that matters. Okay, right. So if consumer sentiment is what matters, then consumers need to be informed about the ramifications. And I think this is a very difficult conversation to have because it's very far removed. It's super, super downstream. So they're all back here looking at the cool things they can do with Grok, and they're looking at the cool things that they can do with a music app or Gemini or what have you. And they're looking at video games, and they're looking at like, oh, wow, that was pretty cool. They did that with AI, okay? And then all the way downstream, you're like, yeah, but the only way that's possible is through these data centers. And these data centers are eating up electrical grid power. And that cost is being passed on to consumers. Oh, and the factories are being repurposed, and jobs are being lost. It's all the way downstream. I think that's what's so difficult about getting consumers to care is it's all the way over there. Does that make sense? It's like, do you know how they make your phone? People have the same attitude. Yeah, that's all the way over there. Yeah, I'm gonna get some updates today, and I'm gonna upload a video of me eating pizza. Like, this is a Sisyphusian task of trying to drag back, emergent properties, things that emerge out of these realities, drag it all the way back here and make somebody care about it. That's really, really difficult because they're going to be like, but it doesn't do anything to me. You see, you're like, yeah, but it will, and it could. And they're like, yeah, well, it isn't right now. Like, there were people that flocked to, if you've ever seen like the documentary about Walmart, same thing happened there. There were people that in small towns were like, it's so much cheaper. I can get eggs and milk and bread and a pair of jeans for way cheaper, at Walmart. And what do? They harmed their local economies by doing that. And they didn't know it was happening. It is kind of similar to the analogy that I've heard. This is commonly used for, preachers will use this for sin. I've heard people use this for addiction. And I don't know how accurate this is, but I think it's a grotesque but I think helpful image where they hunt wolves in the Arctic by taking a very, very sharp blade. They stick it in the snow or the ice, blade up, covered in seal blood. The seal blood's frozen. And it's intoxicating to the wolf. They lick it to the point of death. It cuts their tongue open and they bleed to death. They can't tell that it's happening. Okay. Let's just say that's real. As an analogy, let's say that that's real. A lot of the times that's what we're dealing with here is the cool, new, shiny, awesome thing is so intoxicating that the ramifications sneak up on us. And so I think it's difficult. I think it's extremely difficult to be like, especially when some of the people that are trying to draw attention to this are doing it in sort of this grandstand, like there's this grandstanding, again, I call it current thing activism. It's like, well, this is the current thing I'm going to yell and scream about, and last year it was something else, right? I'm not saying anybody here is doing that. What I'm saying is commonly your John the Baptist, your prophet, your person that runs out ahead to say, this bad thing's about to happen, they commonly do it in a way that makes everybody go, yeah, sure. Shut the frick up is how people are going to react. Because you're dealing with such firm, rigid, judgmental, harsh, like, forms of speaking about it. I've shut down a lot of moral grandstanders on the internet by asking them what they type their speech on. What are we going to do with all these data centers and GPUs after the bubble pops? I'm serious. They don't translate to consumer use. No, neither do the big Walmarts that have been abandoned in small towns, Zoob. No one can buy or do anything with the property. It's too large. What's a medium to small size business going to do with a gigantic supercenter Walmart that just shuts down and moves or relocates? It's like the impoverished cities that are left with these giant eyesores from the Olympics. What are you going to do with the structure that size? It doesn't have a purpose outside of the Olympics. What the frick are we going to do with that? Our GDP isn't even enough to tear it down. A country's annual GDP is not enough to even tear the dadgum thing down, let alone use it for anything. Like, this is a common thing that happens in places like this. Yeah, casino. Yeah. I think some of them have been turned to casinos, haven't they? The world we're dealing with now is because of short-sighted, this won't ever happen to me feelings, and it's happening to them, but I gotta stop. Yeah, we don't need to go all the way there. That's not helpful to the conversation or the topic. I've seen this in discussions of political action, the hardcore demanding absolute conviction and zero tolerance, reasonable people saying, do what you can. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems in these conversations is that your messengers are too extreme, and what you do is you drive people away. I said that this morning in Morning Coffee, and I said it in my 10-minute video. I was like, if you want people to come to your side, buddy, you're making it really hard for anybody to want to come to your side. It's so extreme. It's so polarizing. It's so sharp. It's so, we are right. It's like, oh, well, okay. Do you see what I'm saying? I think that's that. And there's so many moving parts here. We don't have a medium that isn't like this. We don't have a medium that isn't like this. All of the mediums are driven by a binary, a 0 or a 1. You're a red or you're a blue. You're a left or you're a right. And so we're starting to behave and think like we're becoming machine-like in our thinking because we interact with machines so much. He's more machine than man now. Like we're becoming more mechanistic because, well, you're either on my side or you're not. Like I get frustrated by content that always invokes the proverbial presumed they, whoever the frick they are. They, the enemy that are making all of the women ugly in the video games woke, right? Well, why does that content do so well? Why? It folds in very well in a mechanistic, algorithmically driven platform. It does. You don't have to question what their position is. You don't have to question whether or not they're on your side, whether or not they like you or agree with you. Boom. That's a click. That's an easy click, right? So where can you even have these discussions? You're attempting to have these discussions in environments that are driven in the same way. I literally won't lean into some of those subjects because I just know what that looks like. And I know what that comes across as. And it's just like, well, yeah, that's just that, you know, that's very opportunistic. It's a very easy way to grow and make money in these environments. I don't think that's mechanistic because of the machines being binary. I think that's because it generates emotion and it feeds view time, which allows for more money to be made for advertising. It's both and. I believe that we have made machines in our own image, and then I believe those machines rewire us in their image. I believe it is a symbiotic relationship, and I don't think the Matrix was that far off the mark. The way that we plug into machines day in, day out, and feed them what they want. We're not a battery, but we certainly are a source of their survival. The way that we plug in, day out, and scroll and interact and feed, it is essentially like that. We're not a battery, but we kind of are. And I believe we're now being rewired in the machine's imagery. Like, oh no, you need to think in strict binaries because that makes it easier for me as a machine to give you content and to extract money from you. Do you see? Like the machines themselves aren't thinking actively, but in order for them to function well, they need predictable click rate, human behavior, whatever. Yeah, we're financial batteries, exactly. So the more you interact with something like that, the more you get rewired by it. I mean, there's entire psychological studies into what consuming certain types of content on the internet does to your brain. It rewires your brain. It does. If you guys are going to the hub and all these different websites and you're consuming that type of content, be warned what it's doing to you. It is rewiring your brain. It's doing something to you. It's not benign. Okay? I don't think any of these environments are benign. So if you're going to try and have a conversation about AI in gaming, about Expedition 33 getting disqualified or Larian Studios coming under fire because they use it or what have you, that is one of the greatest challenges of all. The grand irony is you're trying to have a conversation about automation and AI and what it's doing to us and what it's going to do, to our jobs and our economies, but you're trying to have it in an environment that thrives on tribalism. Like that's what these environments thrive on. Like, it's difficult to see a way out of the woods. It's like, well, I don't know. Because I don't have the answer. I try to have nuance. I try to leave room for other opinions. I try to be compelled by facts and good argumentation and, and a sort of a logical way of looking at things. But, like, I don't know. I don't know a way out of here. I'm not even remotely attempting to say I have the answer. Our brains are not equipped to deal with the levels of novelty that we get online. It throws off dopamine systems. Like sugar leads to diabetes. Novelty gives you brain diabetes. Okay, that needs work. I actually don't think that's it. That's actually not too bad. A $10 super chat from Neo Reaper. Off topic, but did you see the Ghost of Hope's post that Microsoft is seeking major changes in the Call of Duty franchise? This includes possible studio mergers and reassessment of the monetization. It's only a matter of time. There are too many studios working on Call of Duty. Microsoft will not abide that. You can't have 11 studios worth of people working on Call of Duty and fall how far they've fallen this year. Brother, they've been dethroned. We got to get to January. But Battlefield at the top of the sales chart instead of Call of Duty, you're going to have some hard conversations with some Microsoft executives. If you're at the top of any of that, if you're at the head of any of those departments that work on Call of Duty, it's not a good time for you right now, because Microsoft's going to want answers. Yeah, it made tons of money. It still sold like crazy. Yeah. We're talking about shareholders being like, why are we not at the top? Like, what? How are they at the top? We're gonna get your read when your hair starts to show up in games, Lono. I don't know if like Jimmy Neutron pompadours are gonna start showing up in video games anytime soon, right? This ain't the Killmonger hairstyle, y'all. Okay. I don't know if that'll be a trend ever. Okay. James Dean made pompadours cool before anybody else tried to. Oh, when are you going to get your bread? I wasn't sure what you were trying to say. We bought you because you're supposed to be the kings of FPS. Where's your crown? Why is it on their head? Yeah, that can't be a fun conversation right now. Yeah, nobody wants to be there and part of that. Yeah, there's prior art. Prior art exists in the market. That's right. Oh, we do. We have a new stat. Vertical live feed. So 7% of the people that found us today found us in the vertical live feed. We actually have a new stat now. So for those of you that don't know, we can actually stream in both places, and I'm not multi-streaming, so you don't get two notifications, but you might find me in the live feed. So thank you so much for being here today and watching. If you guys have not hit the like button yet, do me a favor and do that. We're an hour and a half in. Let's try to get to 200 likes. We do have a significantly larger goal this week because I was going to work until Wednesday, and then I was going to take Christmas Day and the day after Christmas off, all right? I will do an After Frickmas special on Friday night with y'all, but we've got a big goal to hit, all right? We'll get the tree out again. We'll decorate. We'll sing. I'll read stories, all of that. I know we've done the Frickmas special in the past. We will bring it back. With the way Christmas landed this year, there ain't no way I can do it without really justifying it. Like, my wife's gonna be like, what are you doing and why? And I'm like, Mama, we went crazy. The community rallied. So you're gonna have to put out the bat signal and get some of the big boys in here if you guys want that to happen. We're gonna need to basically average about 300 a day today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. So Christmas is almost here if you guys want to have a big Christmas week. If not, I'll just have a long weekend, right? And we'll see you guys. I don't know if we'll do something similar for the New Year. I haven't even thought, the freaking New Year is going to do the same dadgum thing to us. It's going to land right in the middle of the week. That makes it tough for us because we get a lot of worker lurkers here. And I don't want to take the show away from anybody. Double check that you guys have hit the like button. Double check that. Thank you guys so much. But yeah. The AI will take part of you most definitely. You got too much content and voice clips. Yeah, I mean we do have things on the platform though that protect us from being used against our, like if somebody made a video right now with my face and voice saying things that I've never said or whatever, I can that's against the rules. I can have that taken down. You have a right to your personality, like your appearance and your voice and stuff. They don't allow for that. I forget what they call it. I think it's a privacy infringement. I think it's how they label it, which is kind of weird, but that's how they have it set up. So, yeah. That's the only way to get companies to listen. Hit them on the bottom line, make the shareholders angry. In general, I think that's true. I think that is true. I think that they only are really ever going to respond to that. You have a right to your likeness. That's the phrasing. So, I wonder if the PlayStation 6 portable will show up on 2027. No, the timeline. It's not a PlayStation 6, by the way. That's been kind of miscategorized. Friend of Ninjas wants to see the goal hit, and he's adding to the total, bumping us to 33. Thank you so much for a single gifted there. The single gifteds add up. Appreciate you guys so much. What about cutting the video in a way that makes you sound insane? Oh, you mean like clips out of context and clips removed from nuance and discussion? Yeah, that's never happened. People don't do that at all. They do it a lot. But, that's just the nature of that's the nature of the business, boys. People judge Nintendo for how protective they are, but with AI, they may be the only ones laughing in a few years. Yeah, I hadn't actually thought about that. Like, I wonder what their policy is going to be, and I wonder what they're going to do with a lot of their, their studios and stuff. I believe people are going to try to Sarah Connor these data centers. I mean, I don't know. If it'll get that dire, we'll obviously see. You never want to see that encouraged or promoted. That can get a little, bad and dangerous. So, how are you? I'm good. Happy you guys are here. The like thing's being weird again. Let's make sure that we're refreshing and it's saving. I'm like, can we get some likes? And it doesn't move. And I'm attributing that to YouTube. So let's make sure that that's not getting us today again, because it happens in the past. Yo, Haseo, thank you so much. Bumping the line of members by 1 to 34. I appreciate you. Haseo's been bumping that line religiously today, man. So thankful, man. He just keeps poking it. You already liked? I appreciate it. Yeah, if you guys already liked, just ignore what I'm saying. And Haseo is going to bump the line again and leaves us at a nice crisp 35. We're 15 away from the next milestone. Thank you so much. Did someone say Skynet? Yeah, I mean, obviously the analogies are there. People keep talking about Skynet and everything else. That's for our purposes. I'm just going to be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, the robots are going to come and get us. Okay, let's actually talk about, other things that are happening with AI and not that. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I meant through hacking, though. I didn't mean actually trying. Well, I mean, you said Sarah Connor, and I don't think in the Terminator movies, I don't think Sarah Connor is known for her, subtlety or her hacking. I didn't really know another way of interpreting your remarks, brother. She's not exactly calm and reserved. Her responses are not small, we'll say. Arc Raiders is on sale. Perfect time to jump in. Yeah, that's not bad. There's a big sale going on pretty much on every platform this week. So, check your wish lists, boys. Check your wish lists. And I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks so much for being here. If you're tuning in for gaming news today, there was a lot going on. There was Expedition 33 drama. The Indie Game Awards removed them. from contention because they used generative AI like for textures, like placeholder textures. And then Battlefield 6 came under fire for using AI. And then some stuff with Xbox. I told people we were going to put timestamps, so we should probably, like, one by one, go through these. Also, you guys can submit questions, and it'll look like this. Frank submitted this question. It says, do you think if Bethesda trains AI on their games, they'll be able to keep their trademark jank when automating? I don't think they view it as a trademark. I know you're being somewhat, tongue-in-cheek. But, yeah. I do think that more and more companies will probably try to leverage it in a way that is incongruent with how they make games, their identity, and how their games feel, for sure. Off topic, did you see the post about Max's videos not showing up for his subs? Yeah. 2025's been horrible for a lot of us, and it was because of the stuff out of our control and stuff like that. Yeah, I retweeted it. I'm like, this has been, like, in the 10 years I've been on the platform, this has been the worst one. And, you guys are probably tired of hearing about it, so I don't really want to beat the dead horse. Let's just hope and pray that the things they're trying to fix and implement and change next month rectify it. I mean, you can look at my social blade, and it's staggering. It's like, it was like this. It's like this like nice steady climb, and then it literally just goes down, and then it's like this line. And it's like, there's not really another way to view that. Like, as soon as we crossed over into January. So it's a bummer, and we're hoping they fix all of it, because they are saying that they're aware of stuff, and they're trying to, and great. Please, thank you. I think they don't want it to win because it won so many awards. No, I don't think that's it at all. To be fair to the Indie Game Awards, this is something that was in their policy well before Expedition 33 won, 9 awards or whatever. They've won more than 9, but they won 9 like at the Game Awards. This was a policy that they had already had in place. This wasn't something they sprung on them. This is not a rug pull. They were not like, yeah, we want to take away. I know folks are probably going to try and do that and claim that and be like, yeah, this is totally them trying to hurt a game that's a threat to the establishment or whatever. Listen, that's not what's going on at all. Excuse me, that's not what's going on. This was a policy that they had. Now, you don't have to agree with the policy, but we should at least not misrepresent it. Right? Let's not misrepresent it. They didn't. It's not like they suddenly decided to do this out of nowhere. Does that make sense? This was something that was in place. And my read of it and my contention here has been that they answered the question. I think Sandfall answered the question truthfully because I think they misunderstood it. I think they answered the question by saying, no, there's no Gen AI in our game. There's nothing. There was a person on Twitter saying their main channel is getting 0 views while secondary is getting 10 times. Well, they essentially said that. They said that their impressions had just fallen dramatically on their main, and they had a second channel that was doing just fine. Yes, that's why we're having my channel audited, because something is clearly wrong. Yes. We are in the exact same scenario. Our issue isn't just viewership, it's impressions. This stream was scheduled about an hour and 45 minutes before I went live. I've been live for about an hour and 45. Okay, so that's what? That's 2.5 hours, and in 2.5 hours we have a fraction of what we used to get. I don't have control over that. I don't. Impressions are when a video is viewable. Like if it shows up on somebody's homepage, if it's suggested, if it hits search results. That is completely out of my hands. That's something that YouTube does. And for whatever reason, they're so incredibly low. It's almost hard to believe how low they are. It's like this doesn't make an ounce of sense. So they're going to have to figure out what's going on. And the hope is that they do, because they're well aware of it. We are not the only ones dealing with this. It's not specific to our community and our channel here. It's a site-wide problem. So we are staying the course, as it were. We don't really have another choice, because this is where we sit and move. It's something incredibly minor we're talking about, like textures and a newspaper, not a voice actor or character or animations. Well, and I kind of talked about this in my video, right? Like, how in the world are you going to nominate games in the future if this is all that it takes to be disqualified? Right? If that's all it takes. Impressions are going to be hit for me too. They're across the board, Brett, they're down 30% for everybody. Everybody, they're down. For us, it's bigger, and we're not quite sure why, but I have my own theories about that, because we primarily live stream, and I think live streams took a bigger hit, personally, than uploads. I think we live and breathe in an environment that already struggles on the platform, so I think it was a magnification. But yeah, I said that in my videos, like, well, what are you even going to nominate in the future? What are you going to nominate if they use it at all? So, you're all about recognizing, indie. You're all about recognizing indie titles, okay? Small teams, scrappy teams, blah blah blah. Okay, let's think about this, shall we? You've got a small team of 15 people, what have you, and they use generative AI to, like I said earlier in the stream, to create like a mood board. They're like, create a mood board for a tropical biome with this color palette and this type of fauna and these types of animals, and they throw it on a mood board. They're not going to use it. They're not going to put it in their game. They're not going to put it in like a concept art book for people to buy. It's there to just provoke ideas. They would be disqualified because they use generative AI. Like, that's the problem. Like, you're trying to recognize smaller studios. You're trying to recognize indie studios. And can we talk about this for a second? The number of people in my comments that are like, Expedition 33 is not indie anyway. I really need you to educate yourself. Stop saying this. It's not true. They are 100% an indie studio. Expedition 33 is an indie game. Independent is referring and is the antithesis of ownership. They're independent. That's what it means. It doesn't mean small and paid for it themselves. That's not what it means. It's never meant that. People started to misunderstand what independent meant. Oh, well, they're not owned, therefore they don't have a publisher. And it's like, wait, what? Like, Devolver Digital literally specializes in publishing, get this, indie games. That's what they do. They publish indie games. Balatro was published by a publisher that specializes in publishing indie games. Like, just because you have a publisher, just because somebody walked in and wrote a check to help get this thing to market, doesn't mean you're no longer independent. That's absurd. It's absolutely absurd, the number of people who jumped on my video and they're like, yeah, they don't deserve to be included anyway. It's not an indie game. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? Since when? When did it become not an indie game? I'm not aware of when that happened. There's this very, very weird thing that takes place, and I thought somebody captured this very well in the comment section on my video, and they said, listen, this is such a common thing these days. Everybody likes to cheer for the underdog until the underdog starts winning. And I thought, dadgummit. That's like when you hear the crack of the bat and the ball goes out of the park. I'm like, that was an excellent comment. Everybody was all about this all year long, cheering for the underdog, cheering for this little studio. And then we were like, well, it wasn't just 40 people. They outsourced some of the work. So that was kind of when it started, where it was like, oh, I don't know. The game's doing a little too good. So we got to find some way to chop it down a size or chop it down a peg. So then it was, well, it wasn't really a 40-person team. And it's like, yes, it was. Just because they outsourced doesn't mean the developer isn't small. Small teams outsource all the time. The core team is still small. Beyond that, it starts winning awards, and we're like, oh, well, they should prevent sweeps, and they should limit the number of nominations, and it's not really indie, and it's not an RPG. Yes, it is. It's an RPG. Yes, it is. It's indie. It's all these things. Like, by the book, it's all these things. Paul says he agrees with this person. This person here is saying indie just means made by an independent company, which Sandfall Entertainment is, because Kepler Interactive has no ownership of Sandfall Entertainment, nor does any company have any ownership of Sandfall Entertainment. Kepler Interactive is a collective of independent studios pooling resources that focus on giving independent developers full creative control of their passion projects rather than buying them out entirely. If you disagree, that you're forced to admit that Hades is not an indie title due to their partnership with Take-Two Interactive. Hades 2 is also wildly speculated to have cost over $10 million to make. Microsoft paid for Hollow Knight Silksong to be on Xbox Game Pass. Disco Elysium received funding from the Estonian government. Dispatch was funded by Critical Role. Hellblade cost around $10 million to make. Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie title that cost over $100 million to make. By denying Expedition 33 the title of indie game, for its partnership and funding from Kepler, you are revoking several beloved titles from the title of indie. That's exactly right. That's why I said you need to educate yourself. People literally think like, well, they have a publisher, so they're no longer indie. And I'm like, that means every game that Devolver publishes by default is not an indie according to your argument. Like, if you're going to remain consistent, if you're going to apply that logic, you got to apply it to like everything that Devolver's published. And that's absurd. Devolver literally publishes indie games. The publisher of Balatro publishes indie games. Those games have publishers. Did Baldur's Gate 3 win Indie of the Year? I don't think it was nominated for Indie of the Year. What year was that? That was 2023, wasn't it? Because last year it was yeah, so Game of the Year, Best Narrative, Best Score Music, Best Performance, Best Independent Game went to Sea of Stars. Yeah, I don't even think Best Independent Game, Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Viewfinder, and Sea of Stars were all nominated. Yeah, Baldur's Gate wasn't even nominated for, yeah. I'm actually curious. Does she? Her dress style is very similar every year. No, I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. It's just I just noticed that the picture from a couple of years ago is a very similar dress style, just different color. Honestly, I don't get it. Why don't they do what everyone really wants and award small teams? Best small team game. But that gets really gray, doesn't it, Jesse? How? I mean, I would pose the question to you. I put you in charge. How small can the team be, and what happens if they use any outsourcing? Right? I like the idea. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not. It would be cool to have a category for small team. Wouldn't Sandfall apply? The base team's 40 people. They outsourced. Does that disqualify them from being included? Plenty of teams outsource for localization. They can't do it all. It's not possible. You want localization? You want the language in another language? You need a team to do that. That doesn't. You got 40 people, you got 10 people, 20 people, whatever. If you outsource for localization, like, does that disqualify you? Because, well, now your team actually isn't 10 people. You have to include the 100-some people that help with localization. It's your award. You define it how you want. You aren't deciding their tax status. I put Jesse in charge. How would you do it? I wonder if the average is for outsourcing. Yeah. Any one of you are in charge, not just Jesse. We don't need to single out Jesse. Any one of you are in charge. How would you define the small team category? Sandfall would have taken that category too. Because according to my definition, they're a frickin' small team. 40 people? But they outsourced and hundreds of people touched the game in addition. I'm like, I don't know if I would count that. That was contract work more than likely. They outsource it. They do a contract for localization, things like that, interpretation, blah, blah, blah. That to me, it's like, yeah, I don't know. That to me doesn't seem like you would get disqualified from small team status just because you did some outsourcing. Yeah, Balatro was made by one man, but he even came out, right? And he said that he had people that did stuff and helped him. I think he had other people. It wasn't literally just him the entire time. I don't know if that could be said for Tunic. Tunic was made by one person. I wouldn't be shocked out of my chair if we came to find out that Tunic had other people that touched the game and helped him. That wouldn't shock me in the least. I think it's a question of fact that we need answered by people in the industry. I don't know if we are qualified. That's very possible that we're bringing a lack of expertise to the discussion. You've got a base team of 40. The game was in production for 4 years. 218 other people touched the game in addition to your base team. Is that still a small team? "2026, Jeff walks out on stage and says, best use of AI in a video game. The year's nominees are, since Baldur's Gate 3 was developed on Wizards of the Coast IP and in partnership, since Wizards of the Coast needed to sign off on things, they would likely remove the indie tag." I don't think licensed IP removes the indie tag, does it? To me, independent means you're not owned. You're independent. Like, that's what it means. Like, it's like when you go, it's like free agent. You're no longer owned, or you're no longer under contract. This might not be as applicable. I'm not a sports ball guy, but like, yeah, it's like these guys that no longer work for a news organization. They go independent. They're by themselves. Nobody is paying them. They're not pulling a paycheck, drawing a paycheck from some outlet. They're independent. That's what I always understood independent to mean. You don't have that protection. You're not owned by anybody. Like, let's say, for example, that, I don't know, let's say Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart comes out and it doesn't sell well, right? It doesn't sell well. Well, Insomniac's not in any sort of danger. They're owned. Their operating costs are shouldered by PlayStation. If you're independent and that happens, that's terrifying, because you're very exposed and you're at risk of closure if you have your big project fail or not do well enough. I'll go further than that. I think once you have a publisher, you are no longer independent. Then that means there's almost no independent games. Nothing Devolver puts out is independent then. Balatro's not independent. Balatro was made by one guy, and he got a publisher. It's a publisher that's what they do. They literally publish independent games. That means there are almost no independent games anymore. There's none. Now the category doesn't exist. It only exists if you fund the game yourself. So now independent is self-funded. I mean, you could do a category of self-funded game. That would be like, yeah, I paid for everything myself. Nobody helped me with this. Even self-funded gets a little messy. Well, I didn't go to a publisher, but yeah, I've got an angel investor. Okay. Is that really self-funded then? Like, I don't know. There's no independent games. If you say you got a publisher, you're not independent anymore. It's like, so Ball Pit and Balatro and all these games that we've celebrated aren't independent? Isn't doing it yourself independent? No, I believe you're redefining it. I don't think it was ever defined as doing it yourself. It was the antithesis of ownership. Are you owned by a company, or are you independent? We can't, after all these years, like, reconfigure it to mean, no, it's always meant doing it on your own. No, I think it's always meant the antithesis of ownership. No, they're not owned. They're not owned by any company. No, they're independent. Like an independent writer who is not owned by, like, he doesn't work for a news outlet. He's independent. But that doesn't mean that he might not have funding or something. Like, maybe he goes and gets I don't know, somebody that believes in his idea and he backs him financially. He finds an angel investor that's like, no, I think you can build a really good news outlet. A really good, like, let's take, for example, what SkillUp's trying to do, okay? Let's say, hypothetically, he goes to an angel investor and says, I think I could make good money here with a platform that is, supported by users, what have you, and you could help me pay for it. Well, he didn't do it on his own then, so you wouldn't classify that as an independent endeavor. That would be weird. It's like, well, no, it's not. He's not owned by anybody. He doesn't answer to a parent company. He's not drawing a paycheck from Eurogamer or something. He's on his own. He's independent. I'm aware that's not the common perception. I'm saying I've always thought that way and never agreed with this classification. I think the issue with your classification is it would be such a small group of games, it almost would be needless. It's like, why would we even use the word then? Because if Balatro can't even be considered independent, because one guy made it, he might have had some people help along the way or whatever. One guy makes it, he finds a publisher that specializes in independent games, and you're like, yeah, he wouldn't be considered independent either. At that point, I'm like, I don't even know why we would use the term, because who would it refer to? Like, I don't know. You'd almost have, I think you'd have a hard time. You'd have to take a lot of effort to search for games that literally have no financial backing whatsoever. Like, what level of financial backing would be okay? Like, would they be allowed to get, like, an angel investor? Would they be allowed to go to a, Would they be allowed to go to like a venture capitalist and get money? Some guy hands them $5 million and he's like, yeah, I want X amount of your sales. I feel like your game's going to do very well. This guy thinks, I'm going to get a return on this investment. Or like it's a firm that pools money from multiple venture capitalists. So you get $5 million. Yeah, are bank loans okay? Like, what level of funding would be okay? Like, because again, doing it on your own is like, you'd have to flesh out what exactly that means. I'm not saying my way is the way, just that in my mind, if you build it and you publish it, you are independent. If you didn't, you aren't. I'm okay being wrong. Well, if that's what your perception was, that can't be wrong. I'm just saying, if that's how we defined it, it would be really difficult to find games, I think. I think that would be very difficult. It would be, here's the thing though, it would be cool to have a category for that. Self-funded projects, right? No angel investments, no publisher, none of that. Now, maybe they got a bank loan, but even a bank loan is going to require capital, right? Even a bank loan is going to require you to put something up. Your credit score, whatever, your house, something. You're going to have something that you can kind of put there to say, hey, I'm good. Give me the money, please. So, that would still, in my mind, be self-funded because you're kind of putting your neck out there to fund the project. Yeah, a best self-published category would be pretty cool because that would be a really small list of games that seemingly defied all odds. If the loans in my name is still on me. Right, so that would be considered self-published because you're putting your house, your credit, your whatever on the line. You're on the hook for the money, so that still counts as self-published. That would be a cool category because you would find games that like people be like, no way. They'd win every year. Well, it'd have to be a new game. If it's for that year, it would have to be a new game. You couldn't just do the same game every year. That would defeat the purpose of the whole process. My point is, if it's all on me, I'm independent. If the risk falls on someone else, it's not independent. Well, I think you just argued that you can have a publisher then. You inadvertently argued it. I don't think you intended to, but you just did. It does fall on them. If the publisher enters into an agreement with you and your game goes belly up, I mean, I guess both. It falls on both, doesn't it? I mean, the studio's in trouble, and the publisher's gonna be like, "Where's my money, man?" I don't know. It probably depends on the contract, right? There are probably some publishing contracts and some investment contracts that are very much like, oh, no, you're holding the bag for this. If this doesn't go well, we're getting our money back. But the publisher paid for it, right? But again, they're taking the risk. Yeah, I would say they're taking the greater risk. The studio is taking quite a bit of risk, though, because if the game doesn't do well, and they're able to pay back the publisher, but then they have to close down. Do you see what I'm saying? I guess it's shared risk. It's not. It would be more of a shared risk, with the brunt of the risk being taken by the publisher. If the publisher's like, yeah, here's $10 million, they're risking not getting that $10 million back. Yeah, because if they break even, they're probably not happy, but at least they break even and they make their money back. If they don't get the $10 million back, yeah, they're the ones that take the brunt of the pain. But then again, the studio closes down to a certain degree, right? In those situations, it's pretty catastrophic where, if a game doesn't break even, you're in bad shape. If you break even, you may be able to enter into another agreement to say, hey, we think our next project can turn a profit. You didn't lose, you didn't go in the red. Everybody made their money back. We kept the lights on. Let's go for round 2. And they might say no. If you don't get the $10 million, doesn't the studio still owe the money? It depends on the agreement. Yeah, it depends on the agreement, because I think a lot of the times, no. What are you going to do? How are you going to pay it back? My definition is too strict for it to be a fun category. I think you could have a fun category. You just have to come up with a way of, defining it. Self-published, as in no publisher was involved. If you went out on your own and you got like angel investments, or you got financial backing from some investment firm or something, you'd probably have to ask the question, like, does that count as a quote unquote, publisher? Loans get paid back first if there's any money. If you bought equity in the company, you are second in line to get anything left over. I'm checking the news feeds here to see if anything else has happened. We've, for the sake of the people watching later, I will need to pull up these articles and just very quickly give them a run through of the timestamps here of all of the various things, that we were saying we were going to cover today. And I'll try to keep things in the center frame here, because we are showing up in the vertical feed, in the shorts feed today. So let's just do that now. Yo, what's good, feed? I see you in the chat, feed. All right, here we go. So in case you missed it, Indie Game Awards disqualifies Claire Obscure Expedition 33 due to Gen AI usage. If you want an actual breakdown of this as well as my opinion, be sure to check out the video on the channel about this. It's only 10 minutes long. I'm just going to give you a quick read through here so we have the timestamp on the live stream. The Indie Game Awards took place on December the 18th, and as many could assume, Expedition 33 took home the awards for Game of the Year and Debut Game. However, things have changed, and the Indie Game Awards are making a big decision to strip the Claire Obscure and developer Sandfall Interactive of their awards over the use of Gen AI in the game. A $5 super chat from Rich Rod. Merry Christmas, Reforge Gangsters, PlayStation Master Race. Jesus loves you. I love you. Enjoy the time with your families and make it merry. Thank you so much, Rich Rod. I appreciate the super chat there. And thank you, everybody who has helped with the goal this week. We got a really big membership goal, so make sure you're celebrating your renewals and handing out those gifteds for people like Feed and others who kind of rely on that every year and every month. An announcement made on Saturday afternoon, 6-1 Indie, the creators of the show, said that its removal comes after the discovery, after voting was done and the show was recording. Okay, so the Indie Game Awards has a hard stance on the use of Gen AI throughout the nomination process and during the ceremony itself. When it was submitted for consideration, representatives of Sandfall Interactive agreed that no Gen AI was used in the development of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I am still convinced that this was lost in translation, that they were simply told that there is no Gen AI in the game, which is true. There is nothing in the game from Gen AI. They had texture placeholders that were removed later. In light of Sandfall Interactive confirming the use of Gen AI on the day of the Indie Game Awards 2025 premiere, this does disqualify Expedition 33 from its nomination. 6-1 Indie ended by thanking the community for being patient and providing feedback on the situation. The organization team behind the ceremony is a small crew with big ambitions, and the Indie Game Awards can only grow with your help and support. We already can't wait for the ceremony. Yeah, this is one of my issues. I don't think you're going to grow. I think you're going to have a hard time growing because, number one, I don't think people are going to like this stance because you're, taking an award away from the media darling. I also think this is going to make it really, really hard for you to nominate games in the future because pretty much everybody's going to be using some level of Gen AI. Even if they use it a teeny bit, you're going to have to disqualify them. They could use it in concept art. They could use it in a PowerPoint presentation. You know what I mean? And if it never ends up in the game, that seemingly doesn't matter to the Indie Game Awards. With Expedition 33's disqualification, the award will now go to the runner-up. That meant the award for debut game goes to Sorry We're Closed, while Game of the Year goes to Blueprints. What do you think of the situation? So that's basically the long and the short of it for those of you that are watching this later and looking for timestamps. We had another one as well. We're going to quickly read through here for you so you guys can watch this and get the news rather quickly. Battlefield 6 is now under fire for suspected AR art in a new bundle. Battlefield fans are up in arms again about a suspected AI design used in the new Wind Chill Cosmetics bundle. In recent hours, eagle-eyed gamers discovered telling signs tied to a sticker in this bundle, and all indications point to it being a faulty generative AI creation. Fans on social media platforms were running rampant, trying to burn the game to the ground. For some, it's a minor issue, but for others, it's indicative of a much bigger problem creeping across the game's industry. The Battlefield subreddit, a user shared the image, and the showcases a soldier with a snowflake wielding like an M4, and you can see here it's got like two barrels. The iron sight kind of doubled as well. It's just a little awkward. It's not that great, but this obviously looks AI generated. This is also on the heels of basically them saying they weren't going to have any generative AI items in their game. That was stated earlier the year. Now, users obviously are very angry and they're saying all sorts of colorful things, but that was basically the long and short of it. This conversation kind of continues to brew, and companies are coming under fire for doing anything with AI, basically at all. So yeah. One more story here that was in the headline here for today that I want to give you guys a timestamp for. So again, if you're watching this later, thank you so much for watching the content. Make sure you're subscribed. This one is about Xbox Wrapped isn't coming because of budget constraints. You might wonder, you might not have seen this. You're like, hey, why can't I get my Xbox Wrapped? Like that thing that tells you all the games you played and all your stats and stuff. This time of year it always happens, and people like to do it. However, in a recent report, it was claimed that Xbox is not providing an Xbox Wrapped presentation this year because the company has better things to spend its marketing budget on. There were Wrapped presentations hailing from all corners of the gaming. PlayStation, Steam, Discord, even Nintendo provided some kind of a recap for 2025. Windows Central claimed that Xbox isn't doing a Wrapped celebration this year because there's far too much happening next year and the marketing budget wouldn't cover it. So there's a snippet from Jez Corden here. My sources suggest that, as you might expect, given that it's now the 18th, that Xbox is not doing Wrapped this year. A lot of the marketing budget that would have typically been allocated to something like an Xbox Wrapped is being poured into efforts to celebrate these major milestones for Xbox, its brands, and some of its games. As professed recently by Xbox head of the upcoming Developer Direct, there are stacks of milestones landing in 2026. For instance, Xbox is celebrating a quarter century in the business, while Bethesda is taking off its 40th birthday. If you were holding out hope for Xbox just waiting a bit longer, then you're out of luck. So this is not happening. And this obviously, I think, feels a certain kind of way to folks that have been, very loyal to Xbox through thick and thin, through lots of changes, and through lots of what people view as changes they don't like. I think consumers have voiced their opinion rather strongly in different areas about it, and I kind of feel for the people that are still loyal. I wasn't going to have an Xbox Wrapped this year because I don't really play mine anymore. It would have been nothing but Fortnite. Like, that's what my daughter uses the Series X now for. It's basically a Fortnite box. So, yeah, there you have it. Now, on the subject of Xbox, I don't know what to make of this. I really don't, okay? Because Tom Warren weighed in, and I think this kind of sums it up. This is very, very quick story. Hang on, that's the wrong scene. Let's go to the scene here. Here we go. The CNBC report does not include a quote from Microsoft, and it paraphrases an unnamed spokesperson. We have no clue what Microsoft actually said or who said it. So what he's responding to is the claim that Microsoft debunks that it set a 30% a profit margin goal for Xbox games, okay? I looked into this, and there is no direct quote. So if you go to the CNBC report, which I've already done, okay, I scrolled all the way down here. It's right above like hardware sales. Yeah, it's right here, okay? So let's make this bigger for everybody at home. Right here, it says... right here, Microsoft told CNBC that while the company does set ambitious goals, the reported 30% profit margin target was incorrect. That's all. There's no direct quote. There's no elaboration. I tried to find, there's nothing. That's, I think, why Tom Warren's weighing in on this. It's like, okay, if it was incorrect, then what's the correct number? If it's incorrect, where did the number come from? Why did we hear it? Like, what? This feels like a conflicting report, right? It came from an earnings call, for crying out loud. Like, that was something that was like a matter of public record. Are you going against that? Since we don't have a direct quote, we don't know exactly what they said or how they said it. This is, I think, a difficult one to do anything with. Like, I really wasn't going to run with this as a headline or a story or a video. I'm just letting you guys know it's kind of a developing story because, again, Tom Warren has sources at Microsoft. He is one of the ones that broke some of the news about games moving and games leaping and games changing and that and what have you. So he's saying, listen, we don't have a direct quote. We don't know who said it. It's a paraphrase of what somebody said, and he's doing like the shrug shoulder thing. So that's a developing story. I don't really have anything to say other than that. That's pretty much all we have. So those are all the stories from today. That is there now. So when anybody comes to this stream later, they'll have timestamps for all the various things that have happened. If you guys have anything to react to, feel free to throw that in the Discord. I'm going to take a very, very brief break, and then we'll keep it going, or we may just end up in green room. I don't know. Things are slowing down pretty significantly in news because of the week of Christmas, so we'll see if there's anything that develops or transpires today that we might pull up and look at. But I'm looking at the feeds right now, and it looks pretty quiet, which is understandable. Right now, the big push is sales, so make sure and check your wish list. A lot of games are on sales because it is the holiday week. So I will be right back. Okay. Bonser bomb was focusing on Windows. She wasn't. Uh-oh. Anytime there's a shock, it causes problems. I got a static shock from my microphone. It'll cause my camera to freeze. The story was Amy Hood said it. Not sure we've seen a direct quote, though. I thought it was from an earnings call. We might be able to react to this, unless it's not new. I wonder, are these people just elaborating on something that we already covered? We just did it as a short, though. We've not made an actual video, have we? No. We have a how to PvE video. We haven't really done like an I told you so, because it's basically been confirmed that that's how the game works. We could potentially use this in like a larger story, larger thing, because we've been covering this for a while. Dummy has a full-length video on his experiences with 2 different accounts documenting his different experiences. I think there's too many there's too much anecdotal evidence to act like this is all pure coincidence. So this is 3 weeks ago. The hard truth about matchmaking, devs confirmed. So he put this video out 3 weeks ago. And again, people are going to say it's anecdotal, but my pushback is there is way too much anecdotal evidence that all shows very similar. And here's the thing. I had a guy self-report last night. Right? I had a guy self-report. He said, I don't ever initiate PvP. And I'm like, you just self-reported. So you do PvP, but you just don't initiate. That has been my contention since the beginning of this theory, that it is not nuanced enough to know who the aggressor is. All it knows is you shot other players. Sometimes maybe even put them down. Like maybe you win. You don't initiate, but you go around the corner, maybe you heal up, or maybe you just get a better angle on them and they're dumb and reckless. They come in and you kill them. And you're like, oh, but they initiated. The game doesn't know that. All it knows is you shot another player. Like the guy totally self-reported in his reply. He's like, I get shot on sight. I get attacked all the time. And he goes, and he basically says, like, I never initiate PvP. And I replied, and I was like, you have to commit to not shooting back. You have to. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Either fight or die if you're being provoked. But if but what you have to do is, this is a matter of priority triage. What's your priority? In that moment, you might think, I've got something really good that I don't want to lose. Is that item worth protecting and screwing up your matchmaking? That's the question that you have to ask ahead of time. You've got to ask that question ahead of time, because you have to be willing to sacrifice good items to keep your matchmaking pure. I'm dead serious. If you start shooting back because you're like, oh, I've got a pink item, I get it, and I sympathize. I empathize. Man, when you got good stuff, it sucks to suddenly have somebody shooting at you. You shoot back and you've corrupted the whole thing. It has no idea that, like, well, I wasn't the aggressor and I had a really good item. Dude, it's matchmaking. It's not going to be that nuanced. You know what I mean? Die and lose it. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying you have to decide ahead of time. You've got to triage it in your mind. I was trying for the longest time to find the lemons, because I'm trying to upgrade, the chicken or whatever. And you better believe that when I had the lemons, I was extra nervous. They were in my safe pocket. and I had something else. I had the other one, the apricots or whatever, so they both can't go in the safe pocket. You better believe I was extra nervous because I'm like, if somebody comes across my path, I'm going to feel tempted to defend myself, and I know that if I do that, it's going to mess up my matchmaking. So I'm not saying, no, yeah, just go ahead and die. I'm saying you got to know what you're risking. When you shoot back to protect the lemons, to protect the pink item, to protect the whatever, to protect the blueprint, whatever it is that you're protecting, you're sacrificing one thing for another. You're sacrificing PvE, peaceful matchmaking, for that item. Because all the game's going to conclude is, oh, well, you just shot another player. Now, it's not maybe going to be that immediate. I don't think you're going to get like matchmaking whiplash, where like, whoop, you shot one player and now you're a PvPer. Generally, the way these sorts of data, aggregates work and how it's, collating all your information or organizing all your information is how many times have you shot players versus how many times that you haven't. So if you have 1,000 games and in one of those games recently you shot back because you wanted to protect your item, I don't think they're going to suddenly start throwing you into PvP lobbies. I just don't think that that's the case. What I think is more likely is it's pattern recognition. You played 10 games on a Friday. In 7 of those games, you shot players because you're defending yourself or what have you. And all the game knows is you played 10 games, 70% of the time you're shooting people, right? It's going to run that after action report, and it's like, yeah, 70% of the time you're engaging in PvP. And you're like, but not me. I'm not shooting. I'm not shooting back. I'm not the aggressor. The freaking matchmaking doesn't know that. It just knows you shot people. That's all it knows. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying that's been my theory all along. And it feels like every single time someone scrambles to my comments to complain, I'm like, I bet you money. I'd put money on the table. You are shooting back. You are shooting players. And because you're shooting players, the algo or whatever the frick it's called, all it knows is, yeah, this person shooting other players. Yeah, you're free to put them in with other PvPers, and you're just going to increase the likelihood of happening. Like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Or it's it would be a foregone conclusion, maybe, is the other way of phrasing it. You shoot a player 3 matches in a row because they shoot you first and you're getting ticked off. Guess what's going to happen in your 4th game? You're going to be in a lobby with people that are shooting other players, and it's going to happen again and again and again and again. You're not breaking the pattern. You're not breaking the cycle. That's why these people, I'm dead serious, I think this is what's happening. That's why they go to my comments and they're seething. They're so angry. They're like, I used to love this game and now it's nothing but PvP. They have put themselves into that flat tire of like, you're shooting back and defending yourself. So eventually you're getting put into lobbies with people that are shooting other players and you keep doing it. And guess what? You're stuck until you commit. You're going to have to, and I said it in my video, I said, you're just going to have to commit to an entire weekend. Just run free kits, go in. If somebody shoots you, so be it. So be it. If somebody shoots you, it's fine. Don't shoot back. If you go in with the free kit, just get over it. You're purifying your matchmaking. Until you do that, until you feed the matchmaking more data than it currently has, you're just going to keep going in and getting shot. You're going to shoot back, and then you're going to basically be communicating to something that's not a person. It's a giant machine that's trying to organize millions of people in a given week. It's trying to organize them to have a good time. It's dispassionate. It doesn't know what you're doing or how you're doing it. All it knows is the data. It's got the data points of you're putting damage on bodies. I think that's a lot to ask from a gamer. Basically give up your loot for a couple of runs in the hope you get better matchmaking. Well, I don't think it's a lot to ask, because if that's what you want, you're demonstrating a value. That's your value. You're demonstrating that value. You've got to kind of give a little to get there. And guess what? Here's the beauty, Yanadid. Once you get that type of matchmaking, it happens so infrequently that when it does happen, you're like, that's all right. I just had 10 matches in a row where nobody shot a bullet at me. I'm willing to every once in a while, basically quote unquote, take one for my team. Take one for the team. I'm taking one for me. I'm taking one for the team, and that team is me. I want to have a good time in this game. right? Like, they can't tell people how it works explicitly because there's probably proprietary things going on, and they probably also don't want people to be able to game the system. So they have to keep some of it secret. So you're not totally informed here. It's 100%. It 100% can tell the difference. I tested it over the weekend after I accidentally shot someone in a round, and we didn't fight at all after it. But my next game, I had a guy shooting people. I played another 5 games and no more PvP. Heck, me and Sorcerer played a few duos, and after like the 3rd round, we only ran into friendly squads. We did free kits and lost nothing. I don't think you've demonstrated it can tell the difference, Butters. You accidentally shot one person, and then you didn't fight. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't think you've demonstrated that it can tell the difference. I'm talking about someone shoots at you, you shoot back, more than like a bullet. You either put them down or they put you down. All the game knows is you shot at somebody. Now, doing that one time, I don't think is enough. But if it happens, if it's a pattern, all it knows is, hey man, 5 games in a row, you shot players. What else are we supposed to conclude? It seems on paper like you're totally okay with PvP. You're engaging in it. It doesn't know. Like, think about every time somebody's the aggressor, it knows that they aggressed and you defended. I don't think it's that nuanced. I really don't. I think it runs an after action report. And as soon as you tip the scales and you show an acceptance of damage to players, it's like, yeah, you're okay with shooting other players. You're okay with PvP. Let's look at it a completely different way. Let's forget aggressor and defender. Let's just run pure damage numbers. It's going to put you in lobbies with people who are putting similar amounts of damage on other players. They could be jumpy, they could be skittish, they could be shooting first because they're in a similar boat that you are, but they're putting you into lobbies with people with similar damage numbers. But they're the aggressor and I'm not. Again, it doesn't know that. It just knows that over the course of 10 games, you put X amount of damage on players. That's putting out an average of damage to player per hour, per minute, per game, whatever. And it's like, we're going to put you in lobbies that are putting out similar damage to player per hour, per minute, per whatever. Does that make sense? It's just looking for, where do you land in the community? We're going to put you with those players. Where do you think it's going to put me? I've shot basically nobody for 30 hours. I have almost no damage per hour per game. Where's it going to put me? It's going to put me in games with people that have similar stats. You can't go wrong. It's like, there's no way it can misinterpret my data. There's no way. It just knows this guy doesn't shoot anybody. We're going to put him in games with people that also don't shoot anybody. So I have a generally pretty good time. And I think the people that I run into that PvP and shoot on site and put me down, I think they're probably very new. I think they have almost no stats to speak of. And they're like, yeah, this, we'll just throw them in here. And then they start shooting people like me, and guess what? They're going to get what's coming to them. Don't you worry. They're going to start getting put in lobbies with people with similar damage thresholds. I'll never see them again. They're going to exceed my damage per player per hour or per match, and I'll never see them again. Does that make sense? There's guys that played like 15 matches with 37 kills running around like John Wick. Right. This guy's so potato at PvP, he doesn't get a shot in on anybody. We need to protect him. Yeah. Go ahead. You protect me all you want. I'm having a good time. I'm getting quests done. I'm getting loot. You know what I mean? I don't play hardly at all now. I got my fill of the game. But like, if I ever go back to it, it'll probably treat me very kindly. Because they'll be like, this guy's not shooting anybody. Jaggy and I picked up Div 2 recently. Been enjoying the new content. Could be damage to arc versus player. That too. No, for sure. I shoot arc a lot. And it's like, oh no, yeah, this guy's totally willing to shoot. He's not just up here quietly running through the game and doing nothing. So it wouldn't surprise me. The last couple times I played the game, I was getting some footage for Creature. I literally went into a game, and both times I extracted, we all come out of nowhere. We're all shooting at the arc to protect each other, and we extract together. Not a word is spoken between us. Like, that can't be an accident that happened that way. I don't know. Did you guys just a second ago, did you guys get like a weird audio glitch or anything? My hard drive and CPU spun up. Something must, like a background process must have done something. Computer's fine. It just, every once in a while it does that. Just started playing Ark this weekend with friends, and one of them is shoot on sight. I started playing solo and not shooting anyone. Yeah, if you're playing with somebody that's doing that, fine on your end. Okay, when it happens, it's really noticeable. Every once in a while, Windows will do that. It like something in the background cycles, and the audio will go like Okay, let's see here. We're at 2.5 hours. Okay, so what should we do? I don't like doing the stream extension thing all the time. I don't mind doing that on a Friday because it's like it's the end of the week, but I don't like doing that every day. Like, oh, if we hit a goal, I'll extend the stream. It's almost like a mini subathon. I don't mind doing that on Fridays, but I don't like doing that every day. I don't want that to become a pattern. Oh no, froze there for me. F5. Yeah, the platform looks like it might be having a little bit of trouble. I have noticed the viewership going up and down by 20s and 30s. That typically means that people are refreshing. I say we green room it up. Yeah, looks like we're not gonna be able to hit the goal this week. I mean, obviously today and tomorrow and the day after, people could go a little wild. We will see. Green room time. Yeah, unless you guys in the next 10 minutes or so start to scramble and go crazy, that I could justify just like, keeping it going and trying to get us at least set up to be in a better position. If not, yeah, we'll probably just go to the Discord. We can make fun of COD for the next 30 minutes. I mean, there's not much to say. I've not watched much coverage about it. I saw the sales report, and I watched a Young Yav video about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, they've really fallen, haven't they? I mean, it's pretty bad. Here, I'll answer the one question that gets submitted by TJ. He said, could you see the narrative changing if it's discovered that GTA 6 or Half-Life 3? Oh, on AI? I mean, the thing is with AI, I don't think it gets traction as far as like outrage or anger or frustration from consumers or anything like that. I don't think it gets traction unless it harms the games. Like if you boot up a game and you can clearly tell they've done it and you're frustrated by it and it's irritating to you, and you don't like it, I think in general, yes, that's where you'll see it get rejected. Does that make sense? But if it's just like, hey, did you know that company used generative AI when they were coming up with the concept art? Most people are going to be like, so? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm saying without large-scale consumer pressure or frustration, you're not going to see much resistance in the development world to this. So if you're like, yeah, but you see that concept art that we found later on a Reddit post that didn't even make it into the game, but that concept art came from generative AI. The average consumer is going to say, so the frick what? They're like, so what? I mean this. I'm not trying to be dismissive of the frustration that people feel about it. I'm just telling you, the average consumer is going to say, so what? I don't care about that. I think one of the hardest things to do is to get people to care about something that doesn't pertain to them. Do you know what I mean? Imagine you're working at a company and you make good money and it pays your bills, and somebody comes to you and says, hey, man, the people down in the mailroom have it really bad. You're like, what you talking about? Oh, man, they don't pay them well. The management's really terrible. Morale's at an all-time low, man. There are people down there they're ready to quit. And they're going to lose their pensions because they can't take it anymore. You might be like, man, that stinks. That's really wrong. I don't like that. But I don't think you're going to maintain a level of anger and frustration with it for very long because it doesn't pertain to you. It doesn't pertain to you. You're like, that sucks. But then you're going to go back to your day-to-day. You've got so much on your plate as it is. You've got so many of your own concerns, so many of your own struggles. You've got your own bills to pay, your own frustrations, and your own troubles. It's really difficult for somebody to get you to care about something that doesn't pertain to you. It's like, okay. Think about it from this perspective. Times are tough, and, all sorts of stuff's going on in the world, economically and the like, right? And you're like, yeah, but yeah, but the artists and people and developers, you know what a lot of gamers are going to say? I don't care. My job sucks. I'm struggling to pay my bills. I'm just playing video games to escape this hellhole that we all live in now. You see what I mean? You're just going to have a hard time getting consumers to care if it doesn't pertain to them. If it doesn't affect their game, if it doesn't affect their hobby in a negative way that they can measure, they're not going to care. That's not me being crass, cold, or like lacking empathy and sympathy for my fellow man. If anything, I'm looking at my fellow man and saying, listen, man, it kind of sucks for a lot of people right now. It can be very frustrating. So it's like, oh, an artist might not get hired. Somebody's going to be like, I just worked a double at a gas station, and I hate working there, and it's the only way I can pay my bills. What do I care if some artist didn't get hired because some company used generative AI? Do you see? Like, it's very, very difficult to get people to care about something that doesn't pertain to them. It just is. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and go to Green Room. If you haven't watched the video about Expedition 33 being disqualified, I'll leave a link in the chat. You can kind of watch that while we're ending the day. If you don't feel like coming to Discord and you feel like throwing some support at that video, leave a like, leave a comment, all the things. We will stream a normal stream tomorrow, and we'll do a stream on Christmas Eve because I know a lot of you still have to work on Christmas Eve. So we've got a big goal. We'll see if you guys can't rally the troops and the big boys the next couple of days to unlock the After Frickmas special. So that's still on the table. And don't forget, the coffee's still on sale as well. It's marked down significantly. We're getting those printed and shipped out as we speak. All right? Thanks for all you guys do for the channel and for all the likes. And if I don't see you the rest of the week, you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. To the rest of you, I'll see you tomorrow and the day after, and I'll see some of you in the Discord right now. All right? Thanks so much.